I'd like to call to order the Woodbridge Board of Selectmen regular meeting of May 10th, 2017. Welcome, everyone. And I do want to acknowledge, since our last meeting, we had our townwide elections, which as always in Woodbridge went very well. We had good turnout, not as much as we would have liked, but everyone was dignified and a credit to our town. Congratulations to Beth and to Joe on winning the election, and for Susan, Tony, Maria, and me. We'll see what new adventures lie ahead, right? We'll have to have a reunion and see what comes next.
Sounds good to me. That's
We'll now go to item number 1 on the agenda, a report on Woodbridge Board of Education. Bob Gilbert.
Everyone, congratulations to all, and good luck for next year as you start your new adventures. Is this on or off? Is it? We're good? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Just wanted to bring you some highlights of what's going on at Beecher Road School right now, and just the latest and greatest. First of all, through the very careful orchestration by Betsy over here, we finally are going to have a building committee meeting tomorrow morning, right, at 8:30? So we're going to have a building committee meeting at Beecher Road in the district conference room, and hopefully that will actually be, we're hoping that might be the final building committee meeting. We may be the wrap-up, so we will see how that plays out. But we were able to get a quorum, and, right, we have a quorum still? Okay, so.
If I can just add to that.
Sure.
This is very important. Closing out the meeting is important because we can't finalize the state grant until this is closed out, and there's quite a bit of money at stake. So we want to thank everybody for their diligence in working on this. Thank you, Bob.
So we've been looking forward to this for a while, so we're glad that looks like it's going to happen. So keep your fingers crossed and everything, that we have a good meeting tomorrow morning. Beecher Road School students, as students across the state are taking state standardized tests during these months, and for us it's been the last couple of weeks, so we're wrapping up our state standardized testing, the SBAC test as you've heard that called, so our students are completing that as of tomorrow. We've had some great activities in the last few months. I can't give them all to you. There would be too long of a list, but we had our great extended day play. That's an annual event, the Jungle Book, that was a rave, wonderful full audience, as well as our 4th grade students on their first band concert. So those are some highlights. We're looking ahead, of course, to a wealth of activities at the end of the year, things you've heard about before, the ever-famous Arts Week that's happening in May. End of the year concerts, end of the year activities, and of course the memorable 6th grade graduation, which will take place on June 15th, which is also the last day of school at Beecher Road. At next week's Board of Education meeting, which is on Tuesday night, because of the Monday night town meeting, so our Board of Ed meeting is on Tuesday next week at 7 o'clock. As part of that meeting, I'll be presenting an update to the Board of Education on some of our early progress on the strategic plan that I put forward in January. So we'll be talking about some of the areas that we've started to work on, such as project-based learning, school-wide enrichment, looking at our vision and mission statements, curriculum work, and a variety of other things. So that's happening next week as we kind of move forward. In terms of the budget, in terms of our current budget this year, the 2016-17 budget, we're continuing to closely monitor that. It's the same theme and trends as I've spoken about all year long to you. At this point in time, we have an unanticipated special education costs deficit of $369,000. That's offset by our underspending in irregular education of $311,000. So at this point in time, we're at a $58,188 deficit. We're obviously getting close to the end. There's still some unknowns, a little bit of volatility at the end as well, but we'll be looking closely at our other line items to see how we can bring possible savings into that and bring that $58,000 down, hopefully as close to zero as possible. Our enrollment continues to grow. We started the year with 776 students. We now have 791 students. We are anticipating 2 more students moving in next week, so that'll be 793. That's just it continues to be a growing trend, obviously, as you know, and we're anticipating 35 more students next year as well. I think at the last meeting I spoke a little bit about the increase that we are seeing in our preschool population who require services, and that is will cause us to open up an additional classroom at least for half the day and shift our staff around for next year. So that's again for preschool for grades for ages 3 and 4. And finally, we're offering congratulations to our new board members. We have new board members, John Volte, Megan Genovese, and Paul Testa. They'll be starting on July 1st, of course. We have a two-part orientation. Each new board member is meeting with me for a short one-on-one session to get to know me and to get to know our Board of Education and local things that they need to know about. And we'll also have a Board of Ed summer retreat in July. So we're looking forward to that as well. So I'd like to thank all of you for your support this year and helping me through my first year. I know we have another meeting in June, but I wanted to thank you for that. And have any questions? I'd be glad to answer them.
Any questions for Pat? If not, thank you very much, and congratulations on your first year.
Thanks.
Very quickly. Okay, item number 2 is the NAA Neighborhood Assistance Act applications. So, Jerry, do you want to say a few words about the program?
This is a state program that is a pass-through for the towns. It doesn't involve any money to the towns. We just process the applications, then we hold a public hearing, and then it goes up to the state. And they're nonprofits that can seek donations from businesses, and the businesses, if they are eligible, will receive tax credits. And this has been in effect for since 1995.
And we've done this on a
Every
number
year
of
we do
years.
this. Tonight we simply accept the applications, schedule a public hearing for next month, and then just ship them off to the state. And
So-
they make the determination if everybody is eligible and so forth.
We have 2 applications, but they're both from the Amity Teen Center. It's for 2 different projects. The first one is for energy efficient siding and windows, and the amount is $24,900. And the second is for energy efficient lighting, electrical, and HVAC renovations, and that's in the amount of $24,950. I think we can vote on both of them together. Is there a motion to schedule a public hearing to hear comments on these 2 applications?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, before we go on, let me amend the motion to say that fine, let's vote on that, then I'll set the date, okay? And if there's no question or discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I would like to suggest that we have this public hearing at our June meeting on June 14th at 5 o'clock. I'll make that motion. Is there a second? Thank you. Any questions or discussion? Not, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, is that all we need, Jerry? Thank you. Item number 3 is First Church of Christ would like permission to promote the Strawberry Festival, and Roger Calistro is here to speak to that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I think this is the 62nd or 63rd annual Strawberry Festival, and there's specifically a 8-foot wide, 3-foot banner that they've used every year. I guess last year they put it up sort of in the driveway. There may have been complaints about it blocking traffic, so we're asking permission to put that up on the corner of Center and Meeting House Lane by the Memorial Garden.
So that's in front of the firehouse?
Yeah, the corner behind the gazebo.
Oh, I see. I see what over.
Yeah, so it doesn't block sight lines or anything.
And well, okay. Well, we can start with the banner. Is there a motion to approve the banner?
I'll move to approve the installation of the banner over on the corner of Meeting House Lane and Center Road.
Center Road.
Right.
Tony seconded. Are there any other questions or discussion? Have you checked with the building department? And we're sure there's no site problems because
Yes,
it's a tricky
it's my
corner.
understanding that they have checked with the building department, and I'm not sure if it's on the agenda, but I think I was told, I guess they have the annual request to put their signs up in different areas where it's been.
You have copies?
Yes, we do. So we're going to vote on this, and then we'll vote on the. Okay. So first, we're voting on the banner. We have a motion and second. All
I
those.
just have a quick question. To go over the road?
No, not
So
over
it's
the
just like
road.
in front of the garden?
Yeah, in front of the garden. If you look at the garden, it's sort of
Yeah, on an
diagonal, and it sort of cuts off the corner there,
Yeah.
and it's up against that.
Okay, all right, just wanted to visualize it, thank
Anything
you.
else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, and then the second is a request for the A-frame signs. And the locations are in our documents
Yep.
here. Is there a motion to approve the placement of signs as designated in the documents?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or
I have a
discussion?
question. And at the beginning, it says not more than 2 weeks before the event, the top of that registration form. But if they're going to go up 5/26, that's about 3 weeks. Is that a problem?
It's it's June the 9th.
Yeah, oh. It says duration of the event, 6/19 in this paper.
That's a mistake. It should
Okay,
be June the 9th.
then there we go.
Here's the sign.
Exactly, and I
Nice.
just wanted to
Yeah.
understand
Yeah,
if you're
that's a
having it,
typo.
right, okay. Clarification, great.
Okay.
Now it makes sense, thanks.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? All set. Thank you for coming.
Strawberry Festival.
And just as a point of reference, I want to mention something I'm very proud of, which is that my mother was named the queen of the senior prom today. Gilbert.
Why are we not surprised?
Very nice.
If there's no objection, I'd like to suggest that we move to item number 5, since we have several people here who will be part of that presentation. That's the Animal Shelter Building Committee. Any objection? No. Okay, if not, we'll go to item 5, and we have a report from David Stein from Silver Petrucelli. I don't know if, Beth, do you want to say anything?
No, I
before
think
that?
I gave a summary of where we were last month, and the minutes are posted if anybody wants them. We had another meeting on April 13th, and we reviewed the traffic study that we got. We haven't gotten that far with that. And we fine-tweaked the presentation one more time for tonight, and I think, from what I understand, it's going to be pretty good. And we're also reaching out, Tony, we're reaching out to Deep.
Oh, great.
So
Good.
I have a couple contacts there about as far as the air quality goes, so that'll be up and our next meeting's a week from Friday,
Right.
right? So
Right.
if you want to come, we're a fun group. And there's no animals, don't worry. And I can also acknowledge Stephanie, my committee members, Stephanie Charleglio, Karen is of staff, the ACO, and Leland is away today, so he couldn't make it, the other person, so that's it. I'm gonna get a book out too.
Got it.
Is that visible?
We can't see it.
That's better.
Sort of. Could have a hand
Oh,
up,
that's
too.
good.
Should I stand here since I need to operate that? Does that work?
Unless you want somebody to do that for you? Or
No, no, that's fine. It's
Okay.
easier if I have to flip back and forth. Great. Does that work?
Yeah, that'll work. You can talk sideways. It'll work.
Okay. All right, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is David Stein. I'm a principal with Silver Petrucelli Associates. Thank you for the opportunity to present the project. So I want to kind of talk a bit about just the process first, and we'll show you just very quickly where we're headed with the project. As we begin to embark on a project like this, we really have to kind of take our design compass and force it in a certain direction. And in this case, and most of our projects, budget is obviously what begins to drive some of the initial decisions of what we make. But what we really begin to do is, most of our clients, we know budget is a challenge, is to put that to a side and really evaluate the conditions of the building and what the overall program wants to be. So meeting with the committee, we just from walking around the building, we began to really understand the condition of it, the mission of the overall project, and immediately concluded that there was a lot of work that needed to be done on the building. And just from our visual inspections, we knew we had a challenge in front of us to try to even meet some of the initial fundings that was allocated and what maybe the anticipation of what the overall budget would be. So some of these images begin to at least try to if anything, they're illustrating that it's original 1970 construction that was built really with the sort of a basic approach to a utilitarian structure. And that does work. Yes, these type of buildings are utilitarian in nature, but the reality is there's living creatures that are in there, and there's a lot more requirements than was ever considered at the time that it was built. The regulations have improved immensely, and we need to bring the infrastructure of this building up to code to meet that. So what we do, and I know this is hard to see, but some of you have in front of you, it's really just a program. What it essentially shows you is we start with a list of what you currently have and what the committee is looking to achieve. So that's the comparison of what you have and where we're going. And that begins to, before we put any lines on a paper, we essentially determine what we think about the size of the building it is going to be. And this was our starting point. This was kind of our roadmap to go from there. And then as we did that and working through the committee, we realized very quickly that this project needs to have a phased approach, that you may not have the resources available through grant funding, through fundraising, to do everything you want to do. So we looked at this and said we think we could base this on at least a three-phased approach. And the first phase is really working within the existing building to replace the plumbing, the mechanical systems. A new water line is coming to the property, so that we'll be tapping off of that street connection. That's going to make a major improvement to the overall building, just because the potable water service currently is really not functional. And new electrical, new mechanical, new plumbing will all be essentially replaced. In terms of the walls of the building and some of the functionality of the space, we're really not touching that. We're going to leave that to some future phases of the project. So that's phase one.
Could I have a question?
Yes, please.
The legend has existing renovations and new addition, but there's no existing.
Yeah, so in this phase, I think this is the same legend that sort of carried on. You'll see through the three phases when I go along. But essentially, phase one, what you see right now is really the existing structure.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So phase one, we're really not touching the existing building, other than really the guts or the infrastructure of the building. And maybe you'll explain a little better as I begin to move on between phase one, phase two, and phase three. So what phase two does is we now actually create the addition to the building with the dog run. So phase one, you're actually doing a majority of the infrastructure that allows us to then connect on when we're building the second phase of the addition. And what this really does is, one, it provides code compliant kennels, and this is also internal and also external. There's many components that we're required to have, such as proper heat, proper ventilation, good lighting, controls on the lighting, and so forth. So this is what we're doing with this addition, is really the kennels component, some storage, and some other accessories that are going along with that. Phase three is really, call it the front of the house piece of it. The addition is now, and we would anticipate that you would essentially be doing these phases 3 years in a row, or somewhat as a staggered approach, all depending on the funding request or the funding requirements that you may have in front of you. But the blue that you see to the right is essentially the addition. Currently, you walk in the door, it's very tight, you're right within the office space. There's really no room for anybody to gather with any of the animals and so forth. So to try to create a space for the public, and then also really to give a space for the staff to do their paperwork and to be able to keep some of their information separate, because right now you're right on top of each other. What it also does is that we create a handicap accessible bathroom. We're also able to rework some of the cattery and now internally rework those other spaces to be more functional and to be more efficient. And the building infrastructure was already installed, so the connection, we're able to easily connect that. So we would upgrade the mechanical systems with the anticipation that phase 2 and phase 3 would come thereafter. So this gives you just an aerial or just a perspective of kind of what we're doing to see how and why the additions were added on where they were. You could begin to see just by the nature of the property lines that we did not have the room to go straight out. We did not have the room to go to the lower part of the page. So that orientation was really a byproduct of the topography and the configuration of the site. So it sort of lent us in that direction. We also were looking at sort of the angles of north-south orientation, and by tweaking that a little bit, it just, some of the kennels are not in direct sunlight, which we try to avoid. And there is room up front towards the street for the phase 3 addition. We put together some renderings to give you a sense of what we're thinking of doing. The building still is utilitarian in nature, but by recladding it, redoing the roof, and so forth, we begin to give an inviting appearance to the building. So when people do come, it looks like it's important because people have trust that the animals are being taken care of and that this is a facility that meets code and is progressive in nature. And then the outside dog runs that would be located there. So this just at least tries to simulate the overall scale of the building. And here's a perspective trying to show a new entryway with some daylighting and some new windows, and just to try to refresh the look of the existing building. We did prepare estimates for the committee. I know they're hard to read. It's really just to illustrate that we've looked at each of these individual phases. And essentially, I've summed this up into phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of the overall cost. Now, I know, Alec, you've had allocated about $400,000 or so for an initial phase. Phase 1 is bringing us to about $530,000, $540,000. And as I said, we'd have to really scale some of that back to try to fit into your budget. But ultimately, the $530,000 includes full upgrade of the mechanical and plumbing system. So to try to scale it back, now we have to really kind of fine tune, what compromises would you need to make? And that's a challenge when you're only dealing with $500,000. It seems like a lot of money, but it's hard to take pieces and parts away without making it fully functional. The committee did talk about, actually, if you would do something, the preference would be to do phase 1 and phase 3. What that allows you to do is it fix a lot of the functionality, but it also, what it does is it gets the infrastructure improved, and then the kennels get added onto as a secondary piece. So, if you begin to sort of look at how you package this, these numbers change slightly. It also changes and may change dramatically on when you actually would do this. As we know, the more a project is protracted, escalation compounds itself every year. Construction kind of rises at about 5% per year, so compound that at $1.4 million, and you begin to see it adds up pretty quickly. So planning this makes sense because it's very hard to catch up with escalation, or I should say to try to value engineer 5% every year out of your building to stay within budget is a pretty difficult challenge. So that's kind of the general overview. I wanted to give it a brief presentation. If there's any questions, I'm sure the committee could jump into if I missed anything.
So, I have a question for the committee.
Are you coming back? So I know we have a $400,000 steep grant. We have a $400,000 steep grant, and I know there are very serious fundraising efforts going on. Is there any update on update? Okay. No, go ahead, Joe. But there's a big fundraiser planned, right? Yeah.
June 4th, as I updates related to that, is that what you're asking, or?
No, I mean, so the update is that there is a major fundraiser planned where hopefully the difference between the 400 and the 536 will narrow. Right.
And if not, we'll have to scale back. We'll just have to decide. It'll all be within the budget, 400 of how much we have
Joe,
for phase 1.
Yeah, I guess my only question is, what budget are we talking about? Because my understanding is we had $400,000 steep grant that we voted to obtain.
right.
I remember having reservations at the time that we were putting the cart before the horse, and we had no plans, but we had 400,000. Now we have 400,000 and a plan for 1,000,004 that doesn't include a lot of other work, I see. So, and I heard the word budget about 20 times. What budget are we talking about?
$400,000 is what we have right
Okay.
now, right, to work with. And we
I just
Why
wanted to
don't
be
we-
clear, because I'm
Please, let's
not,
take
Right, I'm
why don't you go back?
Yeah. Watch me trip. Yeah, that's what you say. Thank you. Yeah, we have $400,000, and that's why we thought to phase it in, and if we have to stop, we will stop.
I know, I
Yeah.
think it needs to be clear that when we talk about a budget, we ought to define what that
The
budget
budget is
is.
$400,000
So we're now
right
$1 million over budget, I
Right.
just think. Well, plus, because it doesn't include a lot of other, probably another,
Yep.
probably hundreds of thousands of dollars not even included in that 1,000,004 number as I look at that. So I just want people to be clear. That's,
We have some fundraising opportunities that,
I'll be there.
yes, you will.
But I don't think
June
you're gonna
4th,
get
but
to
that's not
that.
gonna, no, that's not gonna be a September.
I don't think so.
Not at all.
Why not, Joe?
You're gonna write us a big check, right?
I hope somebody does. Don't get me
Right.
wrong, I'm not
We have some opportunities.
against this, but I
that-
just think
right.
it's a long road here. It
You're
looks
right.
great, but
Yep,
I want people to understand there's no 1,000,004 budget here or
Not yet.
anything like that.
Nope.
So,
no, we do have some good fundraising opportunities that we're reaching out to right now through committee members, and we're confident we're gonna get there. See, yeah,
Well,
Hope
that's
so.
great.
okay.
When you build this in stages, will it function? The building will function normally, or up to whatever it wants to do as it's being built.
You mean
in
during
phases?
construction?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's always construction while occupancy is there is always,
I know.
there's
but
always a
We've
challenge.
talked about that at every single
Yeah,
meeting, and we
and,
make it very clear it has to be done, so we can think it has to function.
Yeah,
as it's
so
supposed to.
that
But it's good.
does add some complexity
I'm sure.
to the
Right.
construction,
Yeah.
just because you have to really sort of surgically construct the project in smaller phases. Yeah, that all is part of the equation that's contemplated right now in the numbers.
Thank you.
I have a question. I'm not sure it's a question. It may be a question more for the committee.
Okay.
Presumably, the expansion of the dog population is based on something, because you're adding a third again as many dog spots, it looks like.
I would defer that to Karen, because
So-
she did the
so
wish list.
What is that?
Karen, if you could come up here, it would be
Sorry.
easier for people to hear you.
So I don't know, I just don't know what that's based on, and that's clearly the main part of the addition. I totally get code compliance, it needs a new roof, we've got to deal with the water, I get all that, but
It's-
where does the expansion come from?
It's based on two different factors. One is we now have Seymour as one of our towns. We have been full all winter long.
The
Which-
outside and the inside ones.
The indoor-outdoors are where the dogs have to reside. They have to come in at night. They can't be outside.
Okay, so the
So-
outside ones are only when it's seasonally
Correct.
Right.
available?
That's just to give them a respite from being closed in little runs
Okay.
inside.
Okay.
We've been full all winter, which is very unusual for us, but it's been consistent. And based on the amount of calls and our population now, it is clear that we are going to need additional space. We also are really hoping to take on another town. And there's some talk about that happening. So I think in order to prepare, if you build it, they will come. But beyond that, to house what we need to house now comfortably, we need the extra run space. Because then you put yourself in a position where other towns do it all the time. We're not doing it. Where you have to euthanize dogs because you don't have any room.
Right.
So in an effort to maintain our no-kill status, we need to have the room.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is that, and I'm not arguing with you at all,
No.
but I think it would be helpful, whether it's this board or a future board, to have some of that data be part of this as a matter of record, because that way the need is in the record,
Sure.
so to speak.
Absolutely, that's a
Yeah.
good suggestion. Okay.
So what towns do we use? Woodbridge,
Bethany,
Seymour, right?
Right.
And we're still in search of that elusive fourth one, right?
Karen, I'm sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to.
No, I don't think this is for Karen. I think it's for the committee or whomever. Are we talking to these other towns about how much this construction is costing and their interest in this project, or are we just footing the bill here and we're putting this thing up and everybody's riding along?
This is our building,
This is us.
and we own it, and we're
But
responsible.
presumably it's going to get reflected in fees, to some extent,
I
offset.
don't know.
I
I don't know if there's any
Yeah, when you rescue a
conversation.
dog from wherever, do you charge the dog a fee? I mean, or the town?
You charge the
charge
town.
the town's appropriate fees based on the operating costs of the facility and the costs of, proportionate share of each town's
Right.
responsibility.
Right,
on
so
that.
those costs per town are gonna rise. So are those
Should
towns,
operating costs rise?
are
Yes.
Yeah.
those towns,
Operating, yes.
Yes.
Not,
right,
Well-
okay, so but they're on board for the operating
Yes.
yep.
increase.
Yes.
But we had trouble getting a fourth at the lower operating increase, and so now we're trying to get a fourth at a higher.
But how could you
Operating, okay.
resist them? Okay.
It looks great, don't get me wrong, I'm just trying to piece it all together.
Right, no,
It
right.
looks- yeah.
But to that point, Karen, you said that this winter is unusually high population. Was that largely from Seymour? Did you see a big shift from Derby to Seymour? Are there a lot more
We've
dogs?
seen
Is
seen
that-
a big shift, yeah. And the good news is that many of the dogs that come in go home, as opposed to Derby, where they just came in and they stayed until they were rehomed. So Seymour has had, I think, an absence of enforcement for many years. And therefore, their roaming dog population is much higher. There's 16,000 people in Seymour. It's a lot of people and a lot of animals. And I think that, and it's a big space between downtown and then up in the Great Hill area, which is, much more rural. We have a lot of animals in Seymour. And I think that we're going to continue to see the same sort of turnovers.
Thank you. Any other questions, Tony? Oh,
My question actually, I don't think it's for Karen, it goes back to the committee, Tony. I'm very excited about a possible new building, but I am a little concerned about the commitment level we receive from the town. We obviously have seen towns come and go. Is there a commitment level where we can actually pin somebody to a 3-year contract to it? Right now, it seems like we go year to year. And just like Derby was able to move out and we were able to move Seymour in, I'm a little concerned if we take on the project, we take on additional operating costs, obviously, with a larger building. Is there a commitment from these towns? Is there a way?
So we have contracts with each of the other two towns, and as we approach the new contract season, we can definitely work with town council.
They
to
have
see if we
contractual
can-
obligations to us.
And right now, is it for 1 year
For
at
how
a time?
long?
No, I think it was longer than 1 year. I think the initial one was a couple with Bethany. I think it was 2 or 3 years, and it automatically rolls
Then
over.
Yeah, and then automatically.
And the
rolls over,
newest
yeah.
one has been Seymour. Is that a 1 or 2 year?
I think that was a multi-year
I don't remember.
field too, I think.
Well,
But it also has
That's a
the,
good idea, we can
Well,
certainly
we'll definitely
revisit it.
yeah, just to make sure
Right.
they're on board with
Yeah.
a possible increase in size and or even cost.
On cost.
So, is there any action required this evening? I don't think so. The next,
No, we're just going to, the committee will
time.
proceed, and we just wanted to make sure there were no questions or guidance or strong objections to anything.
For you, or for the,
I just think
for
it's
us.
important for the public to know
Right.
why, you know, why it's justified and
Right, I think
why
that's
the
good.
money's being spent.
Okay.
so are we, I guess the board is supportive of going ahead with the next steps up to the amount of money we have,
Yep.
right? And maybe after June 4th, you'll know better how much money.
When's the, you could tell everyone when the fundraiser is in case anyone wants to go.
Again, oh yeah, okay, tell the public
Right.
about our fundraiser.
It's June 4th at Birchwoods at Oak Lane from 4 to 7 p.m. We're having a very nice buffet, open bar, and a DJ. We're having some artwork from an international artist that will be up for auction, and silent auction and 50-50 raffle, and we're just hoping everybody comes out and has a party.
Sponsored by, the committee's name is One
One
Big
Big
Dog. I'm
Dog.
not a member of that committee,
Animal
so-
Respite Fund.
And the tickets are available on the town
And
clerk's office?
all the town clerks have tickets for the 3 towns.
How much is it?
It's $100 a ticket. Yeah. And it's going to be fun. Sure.
One of my friends who's a famous local artist is asking when they can, when she would like permission to take photographs of your animals, and so that you can sell them at the auction.
I think that's great.
I will
Wow.
contact you.
Have her call me.
I will.
I'm not there tomorrow, but in the meantime.
She's very good with animals.
Yes,
And
one last
painting
question from
animals.
Tony.
I just before you leave, I just want to be sure. So the 400,000, obviously we know we have to work with. Anything above that would be nice. But at this point, with 400,000, phase 1, you feel comfortable that most of what you have projected here in phase 1, at least structurally, can be done within that number?
Correct. Correct. There may be components that we'll have to leave in place, but head-end equipment such as plumbing, we will keep maybe tap equipment there, but the branch lines will remain in place. So we're gonna have to sort of break this down into really little pieces, but we will work from that number backwards.
It does 100% include the water line. That
Yes.
will be done.
Yes.
That has
So
to get done.
That's priority one of.
Right, that's
of the mission,
priority
so-
one, yes. Right.
Yes.
We have a little bit of a grant. I don't know if it's a grant, but we have a donation toward the water line from Regional Water Authority, which is helping the price a little bit, which is good. So,
Is that incorporated in these numbers?
is that in the numbers?
Well, it says exclude all off-site development, including utilities. I read that to mean
Yeah,
it didn't include the water.
Yeah,
so-
the line to come up the road is not here. Essentially from the tap from the property line into the building is included in our numbers.
Okay.
And that's typical, that's really typical of all
That's
construction. You sort of
Okay,
keep
yeah.
that separate because that's funded or supplied through the water authority is usually doing that street work.
But I guess what I'm asking is the grant, if it's a grant from the utility, included in these numbers, or do we already have more than 400,000?
I don't
Or it's
know.
unclear?
Well, I thought the 400 was a steep grant.
Yeah, the 400 is a steep grant, but
So if we have
the,
additional money from
that's
the
what I'm
water-
asking.
Well, I don't know, but I
Right.
presume.
That's the question.
We had a budget of 120,000 for the water line, and I actually haven't seen these numbers, and I apologize. But how much is in there for the water line in this? Because that'll answer the question.
I'll need to look at that.
We don't know
That's
if it's the full amount or the, or half.
Or it's
Yeah,
after.
okay.
Right.
Okay, so we might be in better shape than we see.
Yeah, yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
Because we knew we were going to have to come up with 120, now we only need 60.
Yeah,
So-
great, that's great.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, that's it.
If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll now go to item number 4, which is 2 items with respect to the Fitzgerald property. As you may all recall, CUPOP did a very extensive job looking at guidelines for the community gardens, and I do want to thank CUPOP again. They did a terrific job, and since then, Betsy has been working to consolidate the recommendations of CUPOP. We've talked about this at a couple of recent meetings. We had some drafts, and it's now, I think, in good shape and ready for action tonight, subject to what you all think. So I will ask Betsy to walk us through this proposed document. And again, we've consolidated the various pieces that CUPOP gave us into one document, and I think it covers everything that we need.
So these 3 pages here are
That's it.
consolidation of
That's it.
6 or 7.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So, as Ellen said, CUPOP did the bulk of the work ahead of time. And Ellen and I met with Tara Stack and reviewed a lot of this. And a lot of what is in here are things that are already happening at the gardens. There are a few new things in here that are really clarifications. As Ellen said a couple times, this has been a really wonderfully functioning in an informal way, and now we're formalizing most of what has already been happening. So, eligibility, for quite a while now, it's really been only open to Woodbridge residents, so that's not new, but it's being formalized. There are some people there who garden who are out-of-town gardeners, but they've been gardening there for quite a while. I don't need to read through all this. You've all read through all this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So does anybody have any questions about what's in here?
I think it's a very good job.
I just had a question about enforcement on some of this stuff. Is it just sort of self-enforcement amongst gardeners? In other words, they keep an eye on each other or things like that, or,
At this point, it's really...
Certainly if you see somebody using some kind of pesticide or something, you just...
Exactly, and now we think that it's in writing, it'll be easier to say, did you know you're not supposed, and you should know, because in order to fill out this form, you should have read through all of this. So we think that should cut down on a lot of the problems, and I don't think that there are many problems to begin with, but we think that will help a lot.
They all want it to be a happy place.
Exactly.
And work
Well, where this came from with CUPOP, and it goes to this point, is that sort of striving for continuity, because the stacks aren't going to do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're gone, how do you pick up that gauntlet and keep it going? And that's what this really does, I think, is it sort of formalizes the informality.
Yes, exactly.
So, I'm sorry.
And keeps the continuity.
So I would say this is good, going from where we are into this, and it can always be changed, but could we maybe have CUPOP look at this yearly, just to say, how are things going, and do we need...
Well, there's something in here about,
Well,
I think
we do have...
It says they're supposed to report annually, right?
So this creates a committee. The committee is what the stacks have done, that the gardeners choose among themselves 3 members, and that they report to CUPOP annually.
Okay.
Or
good.
more frequently as needed. So
That's
that's
The WGCG.
Yes. The right.
WCG.
Can you pronounce that?
Yeah, no.
Yeah, a lot of thought went into this, both on CUPOP's part and then trying to bring it to a little bit what Susan said. The gardens have been working so beautifully and so well for so long, and yet I mentioned to all of you, one of my first months as first selectman, when Mrs. Shaw said, "Oh, it's time to sign the agreement with the stacks," and it was a little yellow piece of paper, and it was sort of remarkably informal for this day and age, and without wanting to upset the apple cart that is so wonderful. And I think the gardens are one of our treasures in their variety and their beauty. It needed a little something. So hopefully this, as Betsy said, it formalizes what's been happening and working so well and makes it a little more structured. Tony?
Betsy, I have one quick question, which is on, it talks about the committee having discretion over how many plots to rent per person, yet in the same line it starts by saying new gardeners apply for a maximum of 2 garden plots. So are they deciding between whether they get 1 or 2?
So that was a recommendation from CUPOP, and the way that I understand this, and maybe the committee would interpret it differently, is say you have 2 contiguous plots and the person next to you has let their plot go fallow. If you would like to take over that plot, this is the way I interpret it, if you would like to take over that plot and the committee says you could,
That's fine.
So there are exceptions to the maximum of 2 maybe?
Correct.
Okay.
And currently, most people have 1 or 2, but there are people who have more than 2 currently. And so this is also allowing those folks to be grandfathered in.
And then the larger question I have is really for the board. My recollection is this really came about because we had an issue with some, let's call them buildings and benches on the property.
Right.
And we wanted to take a look at what would be, because we had some special requests for some benches and for some special projects on the property. And we wanted to take a look at how we could make that uniformity a little bit clearer, what was allowed, where would be allowed on that
Right.
property.
So to that point, that's another project and another recommendation for CUPOP is about benches on the Fitzgerald property. That's not part of this.
Right.
And the
So-
next board could certainly look at the benches issue.
So I just want to clarify that it's not that we're not looking at that further, but this particular suggestion is just about the procedures and not about necessarily the structures. Does that make sense?
Well,
Because we looked at the buildings as well, because some people had erected some,
Permanent things.
structures.
well,
I don't want to call them
this
outhouses.
this doesn't address that. And the issue about benches around the property is a different issue. If anyone thinks this garden restrictions, remember, anyone who erects something permanent must come to the board for permission. So if the next board feels that's inappropriate, they'll say no. If there's some structure they want to approve, they'll say yes. That's entirely up to the Board of Selectmen. And I think it would be difficult to draft exactly what's permitted and what isn't. So, but as to the benches around the entire property, that's a different project.
Okay.
Anything else on this? If not, is there a motion to approve the Woodbridge Community Gardens application, regulations, and procedures as before the board this evening?
So
I'll second that.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great. Thank you, CUPOP. Thank you, Betsy. Okay. I guess we'll go to item number 7, which is the wayfinding signs report. I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot something, as I often do. On the Fitzgerald property, another recommendation from CUPOP was to set a speed limit. And we as a board referred that to the traffic authority. The traffic authority, it turns out, doesn't set speed limits on non-roads, so it comes back to us. So our recommendation, based on Betsy driving at the Fitzgerald property, is that we set a speed limit and we post a sign that the speed limit be 5 miles per hour on the property, which I think is appropriate. So I'll make the motion that we set a speed limit of 5 miles per hour at the Fitzgerald property and that we post signs advising the public of the speed limit. Is there a second?
Well, I can walk faster than that, but I'm going to go for it because I see people go
People
too
do
fast.
go too
So
fast.
just not putting my foot on the gas
Yes.
and I'm still going.
I'm sorry, Maria, did you
Yeah.
second?
Try.
Thank
No,
you.
I actually thought I put the motion. Okay, fine.
Okay,
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
No.
If not, all those in favor?
I want to do
Aye.
this really slow.
Anyone opposed? Okay, now we'll go to the wayfinding signs. Thank you,
Okay.
Tony.
Okay.
I've got reports to share with everybody.
You're all passing. You and the girls don't have to walk.
And this one's for you, actually.
Before we go to the presentation, maybe, Betsy, do you mind just refreshing everyone's recollection about how we got here?
So the town had some leftover money from a steep grant that we had used in the business district to install sidewalks. And the grant was for improving the business district. And so we've used that towards creating this wayfinding study. And the goal of the project is to create a unified signage program throughout the town with a focus on the business district to welcome people to town and to help them find different things in town, whether it be our town center buildings, restaurants, shopping areas, different things like that, to help people find their way through town. If they don't happen to have GPS, or for folks who are coming into town to visit, say, the brewery, and don't know that we have all these other amenities that they could be visiting. This would help direct them to stay in Woodbridge a little while longer.
And this process was managed by a group of town volunteers. Jamie Scott was the chair. I don't have the list.
Laura Ferrandis, Ellen Eisenberg.
Oh, great.
Jeff and Chris Lovejoy. Yep.
Oh, yeah, there.
Yeah, so again, Jamie Scott was the chair, Ellen Eisenberg, Laura Fernandez, Jeff Kaufman, and Chris Lovejoy. Thank you to all of them, because this is great work, and thank you, Betsy. Okay, now.
Good evening. My name is Henry Withers. I'm a landscape architect with CR3, and I'm here with Mike Loretano from the Loretano Sign Group, who's part of our group as well, our consulting group for this committee. I think Betsy sort of outlined things in a much more articulate way than anything I'm going to say tonight. So if there are any questions, no, I'm going to run through a brief executive summary of sort of a high level of what we've done, and then show you some examples of the signs that we've sort of agreed to at this point, and which Loretano Group has actually provided shop drawings for and some pricing for, and we can talk about all those things. But I think we're pretty much at the final stages of this project, and I just want to make sure that we touch base with you all and that you're comfortable with what you're seeing. I don't think there are a lot of changes from what you saw in our last presentation, other than just refinements to all those plans. I might ask Mike to take one of these signs as I'm speaking to it, just so I can stay by the microphone. We'll start with this one, Mike, if you don't mind. And perhaps you can all see it. Essentially, I probably should have done it on PowerPoint, but essentially what we've done is outlined around the perimeter of the town all the major entrances that you'd enter the town vehicularly and start to go into the wayfinding process of how do you get to town hall, how do you get to a business district. Beyond that, we've then put a second level of signs at all the major intersections, and Mike, maybe you can point to those as well. They're in green on that same plan. So initially you have those outer perimeter signs that, at each one of the town limits, and then you start to come into the major intersections, and that's another type of sign that starts to lead you further into the town and guide you to the town hall or to the business district. And then once you get into the town district or the business districts, there are much more detailed signs that start to denote where you'd go from there, and start to identify businesses as well in specific, and they're set up to be a little bit more flexible. The outer signs are more permanent. They're made of in a way that we'll get into the specifics, but they're made in ways that aren't meant to be necessarily changed very often. The inner signs allow you to change information as businesses might come and go, or if you want to identify something on a more regular basis. Mike, let me see if we can, thank you very much. I don't know if I speak loud enough. Do I need to speak to the microphone? Maybe I do.
Before you turn the page, can you just make sure that the camera gets a good picture of that?
Absolutely.
First map? Maybe you can just point out what we just talked about.
So on the town line, we have a number of signs that are set up where major roads come in and enter the town. And then beyond that, as you start to enter the town, you hit major intersections within the town where a secondary set of signs is set up. And then there's the what we're calling the Woodbridge Village, the East Village, the Village District, West Rock Commons. We have signs that guide you within those areas, and within what we're defining as the town center, we have signs that would guide you within those areas as well. Hopefully that can be seen on the TV. And then this would be, for example, the Village District. And within this area, you have a whole nother layer of signs. that identify, again, that you're entering the district, and then wayfinding for specific businesses and directories and maps within that would help you find a particular area that you're going to. If you were trying to find Atlantic Fountains or something like that, how would you get there and where would you go? Sure.
So we've grouped them instead of as specific businesses, groupings of businesses. So restaurants, shops, retail, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. So because there may be a lot of turnover, instead of pointing towards one, we're pointing towards a grouping of businesses.
I don't know if you want to see that one as well, but that's this drawing here. And then specifically in areas, and this is the town center, again, vehicular directional signage, district gateways, we have the directory signs in a few locations that would help people find specific items. When we get to some of these areas, what we're doing is putting together boards that very specifically denote the type of sign you'd find, and then taking an aerial image and actually locating, and it's very difficult for you to see, I can bring it over there if you'd like, but where you see this little yellow glow, within that area is an actual red figure that is the true sign of this, size of the sign that you'd find in that location. And we've tried to locate them as specifically as possible. As part of the implementation, obviously, they would need to be staked in the field, approved by DOT, and approved by any of the powers that be here as well, just to make sure. An example of one that is a little bit unusual is the gateway off the 59 off-ramp. And that one, if you recall, there's the sign that New Haven has for Yale and for some other directional, whole bunch of bars that run along the bottom. And Betsy has a contact with them, and the notion that we're working through with them right now is that our sign will essentially replace that sign, but their information will be added to it, or vice versa, but we're hoping it's your sign because we think your sign is.
And that sign is actually across the street. It's not in the median.
That's correct.
Right. As you come through.
That's right. As you come down this ramp,
Right.
you're facing that sign, and that's where it tells you where the hospital is.
Right. It's green and yellow, I think.
That's right. But you can see where we've located very specifically all these various signs, so that you see that there's space for them, that they're in places where there'll be sightline for them, and so we've worked through that with each of the locations.
So just in that area, there is proposed change
Yes,
coming.
I was here the last meeting, you had the presentation from DOT about the roundabout, and then the temporary, maybe a shorter term solution. So,
right.
And so that's going to have to be counted in depending on how they fund that when that happens.
So this is assuming no change.
That's assuming no change, but
okay.
we aren't exactly sure what their final change is going to be.
Yeah.
Because so much is up in the air with that particular sign location, instead of spinning our wheels with what ifs and hypotheticals, we've just kind of said, it'd be great if it was here, but we'll deal with reality when it happens.
Sure.
And I think, regardless of what happens, this likely will, something similar to this will probably be put in that location anyway.
Mm-hmm.
There was quite a bit of discussion. That location was one of the locations that was discussed the most. Going too much further up the road into Woodbridge from there, the gas station and the pavement and all that is on one side, and then you have the Starbucks, and you start to miss some of the businesses, and you start to get into sightline issues. You don't see it from where you're coming off the off ramp, and I know that other ramp would be moved over and eliminated and whatever. There's changes, but our main thing was to allow somebody as they're coming off the ramp or coming from New Haven to be able to see this sign and start to identify, okay, I'm entering Woodbridge now, and and where do I go? And again, part of this whole theme is to make these consistent signs so that they're readily identifiable as Woodbridge, and put the logo on. So we have a number of different sign types, and this sort of shows the comprehensive approach to what we're trying to achieve here. The main town gateway sign
the primary town gateway, the secondaries, then vehicular directional signs. In addition, we do have district directional and map information and directories, and the West Rock Common map and a landmark and trailhead type of sign as well. So all of these, Loretano has provided shop drawings for and is going under pricing, but there's similar features to all of them to help them be readily identifiable as, oh, I'm in Woodbridge now. And a couple of the signature elements were the inclusion of this little logo at the top of all these various signs. Right now we're showing it as a W, a scripted W, that would be done in a foil of probably gold leaf is what the committee agreed to, with a darker green background. I'm sorry, you're not being able to see that. So there's a little darker green background and a darker green border, and then a very, very light, what's the word? Sage background. This shows on our drawings, because our blotter is just a little bit different than the actual chips, a little bit darker than it is. Mike actually mocked up a board that he sent to the committee, or that we reviewed with the committee. It's essentially a polymer that's got a recessed etched background so that it looks like wood that's been sandblasted, and the letter then is raised. So you have not only the letters that you're seeing, but they're actually going to have shadow lines, and they're going to be raised somewhat. And the sage background is a lighter color than what you see here, and the green is almost a black green. So we mocked it up. I think the committee felt that had enough contrast that it would be readable at night, and hold a fairly elegant look and allow for graphics to be neutral enough to have graphics within it that it wouldn't compete with those. The background, we're showing them as gray just because it's a white board, but in fact the background of these will be these white columns that support it in the white kind of trellis structure on the main one and the primary town gateway, so that it sort of gives an enclosure to the sign.
Would you mind showing the camera?
Sure, absolutely. So we have the main signs, the gateway signs, secondary signs, and directional signs. The district directional signs, map information, directories, and the West Rock Common map, and the landmark and trailhead signs, which is a smaller sign. It's the only one that doesn't have the main post.
Would you be able to send to us color renderings that we can put up on the website?
Absolutely. We'll send
if anyone's watching and feeling like
I'm not sure whether we've sent them to Betsy or not, but we will absolutely
Great.
PDF all these so you can put them on your website.
So if anyone's watching and frustrated that they don't see it,
Yes.
they will. Okay, good.
Fair enough, yes. And you can see sort of the relationship of both a car and a person to these various things. We had quite a few discussions in the committee meetings where we actually go right out there and hold these things a certain distance away to make sure everybody could read the letters properly. Mike worked with us on that as well, with his experience in sign making, so that, for the vehicular signs, that they could be read properly from a decent distance. And then once we get into situations where you are at a directory and you're driving in a slower pace or even walking, that the information would be readable from that level. We did downsize some of these because it was felt initially, the signs we proposed initially were too large and maybe going to be overbearing for the site, and they wanted to have sort of an understated signage system. So some of these were lowered down somewhat. We still have kept them, the main signs here that are beside the road, we've kept them 3 feet up so that if there is some snow in the wintertime, they'll be up and out of the snow and still be readable, and they won't get damaged. So the logo is key, then the border is a key that runs throughout all of this, the sage background, and then we have a welcome to Woodbridge, which is sort of the welcome is a little bit of a curve to give it a nice look, and then the Woodbridge has a mixture of heights of signs that give the top of it a curve as well, and then the established, and then that sort of runs again throughout. But then when we get into the lower district signs where it's directories and information, the logo continues, the welcome to Woodbridge drops out, but you still have the name of the district and or the information
map that you have there. So that again, there's that continuity of information that people can read easily. They get used to seeing what they're looking for, and then it's easier for their eye to pick up the key information that they're searching out. The main sign, as I said, is polymer, so the idea is it would have a very long life, and Mike can address that a little bit further in a moment. Then the columns are a combination of both aluminum as well as some PVC bases and caps that would be there would not be a lot of maintenance to any of those. They're not something that you have to paint regularly. They're not something that would rot. They're structural, but they're made to be breakaway for the detailing for the highway, so which the DOT would require. All of them have breakaway bolts underneath these slip-on bases. So let's see if there's something else that I wanted to address. This is a little bit of a larger version that might help anybody that's interested in seeing the general configuration of the signs. Mike, do you want to just briefly touch base a little bit more on detailing and materials and anything that perhaps I've missed, and then we'd be happy to take any questions and discuss any comments.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Mike Loretano from Loretano Sign Group. I'm the nuts and bolts guy here, and I have to say, having done this, I'm going to pass these out as I speak. These are just sets you may already have.
Thank you.
I don't know if we've got enough for everyone, but we'll share.
We'll share.
Absolutely. Having done this for, 46 years now, I have to say that your committee, Betsy and the committee did an outstanding job, because it takes a balance of common sense, of course, because we want to make the program work well and work from a practical standpoint. But we also set out to evoke the right image of your town. And I think that they did a great job. They didn't just sit back and let us come and present to them. They were really an integral part of this process.
Why do we not doubt you?
I said,
Somehow that sounds right.
And it was actually exhilarating to have the interchange with them. We did a lot of prototyping, and I can tell you from my experience that prototyping is essential. Meaning, we did come here with the banners and the full-scale signs and the colors we wanted, and we tested them. We tested them here, out in the yard. We tested them down at the exit ramp. And we spent a good deal of time talking about what's the right size for these signs, what's the right look, what's the right coloration so there's a contrast. And I think that the family of signs that you have here today really came together in a committee effort and is going to evoke the right feeling for your community. Part of my job is to make sure that the signs last, so that your facility people don't have to be out there constantly tweaking and maintaining them. So we used good products to achieve that with a bent towards value engineering to make sure that you weren't spending more money than necessary. We worked very closely with CR3 to get the signs crafted to the image that everyone wanted and yet be a good value to you. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the nuts and bolts. The prints that I passed out are basically our shop drawings. And we were brought in to provide that knowledge of construction and engineering and so on. But ultimately, this package will go out to bid, and with the hopes that the successful sign company will be able to come in at an even lower price than we budgeted. But as we went along, as we went through this process, we provided budgets to the committee so that we could have a good understanding of what's going to work out there in the field, what's going to look good, what's going to work well, but what's also somewhat affordable. If anything nowadays is affordable. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. As Henry said, we used very good products that are going to be low maintenance, be able to stand up to the elements in this New England environment, and look good for many, many, many years to come.
So before we go to questions, thank you both very much. I think the signs are terrific. and would be a wonderful addition to town. Before anyone asks about budget, we have no budget for the signs. We had a budget for the planning, and we have a great plan. And as you probably know, we'll have a new Board of Selectmen as of July 1st. And it will be up to that board to decide what, if any, funds will be allocated for this in the near term. I think it's a very important project because one of the things we want to do is enhance the activity and the success of our business district. It's very important for expanding the base of taxation for our town and for enhancing the image of the town. And I think these signs would do a lot for that. On the other hand, budgets are budgets. Just so everybody knows as we talk about it, it's not like we're voting tonight to buy these or to spend money on it, but to really be up to speed. If there's any questions, or if anyone on this board thinks something they don't like in these plans or something that needs to be changed, or have any questions, this is the opportunity.
So
Maria?
the extra fund from the extra money from the steep grant that she's talking about only covers this preparation.
That's correct.
Correct.
I see. Okay, good. Yeah, it looks wonderful. I do art in the public space, so I appreciate these things quite a bit.
I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
But so
Go ahead, Tony.
Go to me.
Tony, go ahead, Tony. You were first.
I think you were first.
My first one is obvious. On my plans, there is just dollar symbols, but no numbers. You said you can give us an idea of cost, or that there was an estimate of some cost of these signs. There's nothing on my plans that shows any dollar amounts. Do we have any idea of what this?
We do have budgets for the signs ranging from the very largest sign at around $26,000, keeping in mind the excavation, the engineering, break-off bolts and all of that, all the way down to the lower price signs down in the $5,000 to $7,000 range. And it's all going to depend on the number of signs that you bid out at a given time, because if you do more than a few, then the price would come down. And we feel that these budget prices that we have provided should be a top end and will probably, in a bidding process, come down. So I don't know if I've answered your question thoroughly enough.
No, that's it. Well, I just wanted to clarify my last part of it was, I counted 37 signs on this plan, not plus whatever landmark and trailway or trailhead signs you would add. But 37 was the plan you showed us based on my documentation. Does that sound right? A number like that?
Yeah, probably, yes.
Thank you.
And this is in phase, actually it came in 3 phases. We phased it out in different phases, thinking that there are some signs that are more important to initially get in place whenever you start it, and some that can follow in a practical evolution.
So one is a clarification. So on this sign where it's, what did you call it, a district sign, is this part listing events meant to be fabric?
Yes, that's a banner.
So you see that driving around all over the place?
That's right. And the idea behind that is that it could potentially be something that you could put seasonal information on.
It should change all the time.
You could announce the Strawberry Festival, whatever it is that you want to do.
Okay, all right. So that was question number 1 for you guys. I think that my next 2 questions actually maybe are for some future board, and that is whether or not businesses are willing to chip in on some of this signage, particularly
If their names are on it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And because, let's face it, they should be buying in, but it's sort of a broader question. You referred to the West Rock Commons, you referred to the Village. To my knowledge, unless some other board has done this, I don't think those names have ever officially been adopted by anybody.
That's correct. That was for this study, the committee, we discussed.
But I just want to be clear on that. Okay.
Yes,
okay.
no, and you're absolutely correct.
Okay.
For this study, the committee and we sort of identified those as areas that might be potentially ways of breaking down the wayfinding so that somebody could be more clear about where they were heading. Those are not official names, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
They were what we've used along the way. Those kind of things would be something that the board would need to agree on,
Right.
and then would be part of shop drawings, what the
Okay.
final name
I
is.
just wanted to be sure that I hadn't missed anything.
No, not at all. You're
And
absolutely
second of
correct.
all, I think that our friends and neighbors, Jamie, Ellen, Laura, Jeff, and Chris have done an amazing job. This is really quite something. And you guys are okay too. But thank you.
It's
Thank
okay.
you.
Susan, can I add to what Henry was saying? So one of the reasons that the committee thought it would be necessary to come up with these sub-district names, and they're not married to these names, but because they want the signs to point towards restaurants or shops, part of the problem is that our restaurants and shops are spread out all throughout the district. So the sign will say restaurants this way, this way, this way, and this way, which isn't helpful.
No, but I'm even going to a different point, which is district. It doesn't even exist.
Right.
So,
Officially.
there has to be some imprimatur to make that
Exactly.
official in some fashion.
One alternative thought they had was if the board did not feel comfortable creating a district name and sub-district names, was instead of saying dining this way, shops this way, was to say Selden Plaza this way. And then it would be upon the business to promote themselves as part of Selden Plaza.
Gotcha.
To cut down on some of the confusion.
Okay.
I think we've you've answered my questions almost, but I noticed that you've read here, ultimately the use of sandwich board signs brings a level of attention to the individual businesses that's impractical. So all of this project would not eliminate all the sandwich boards all over the place. Is that sort
No,
of
I think what we're saying is sandwich boards bring so much information and that it sort of gets in the way of anybody understanding. And so
Right.
these are hopefully to help minimize those or not need those
Right.
as much, because right now you find that information, there's people that are laying those out, and as you're driving along you can only read but so much
Exactly.
information.
I find it difficult with sandwich boards to get all the information and
So the intent of this is to clean some of that up.
yeah, because it just said, and perhaps inappropriate on a community signage system. So I wondered if there's a way that could be
Well, maybe
adjusted
modify that
somewhat.
language.
Yeah, exactly, because
Right.
it's difficult and they're
No,
dreadful.
it's an impressive proposal, but, yeah, we can,
I think the issue is
yeah.
this board's
Money.
not making it.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to go through this whole thing again sometime because
Probably.
Yeah.
But I
It's a
think it's
different
important
board.
since we were part
Hi,
of this.
Joe.
Everyone to hear it.
Well, it also
And-
keeps the ball rolling.
Yeah,
Well, I have no problem, but I'm just saying. I think-
Yep.
more than anything, we
You'll
just
really
want
know
to
it next
keep on letting you be apprised of where we stand, and the committee in particular felt like it was important, now that we've sort of gotten to this level, that you be aware so that there was nobody that said, whoa, wait a minute, this is not anything we want to do.
Right.
Anything else? No, thank you very much.
good.
Very nice work, very impressive. We're now at public comments. Anyone here for public comments?
Hi.
Hi, Phyllis.
I missed you at the Dahlia Show. Hi, I'm Phyllis Chanel, 30 Richard Street Drive. I'm only here because I'm very concerned that the land at what was the Country Club of Woodbridge is very overgrown. And all around town, it's mowed, everything is taken care of, and this land is getting longer and longer, and I fear that there will be an influx of ticks and animals, and I worry that we won't even be able to get mowers into it at some point. And I think that we own this land and we still have to take care of it. And it is, the land is beautiful, whether it's a golf course or used for walking or used for cross-country skiing in the winter or for whatever it's used for. It is beautiful land that we own and we should be taking care of it. And since I still walk it and it's getting very long in places and it's just a mess. Truthfully, it's just a mess. And I think that we all take pride in the way Woodbridge looks and presents to our neighbors and to our townspeople, and I think we should do more to take care of this property.
I'll just mention Tony's going to give an update on that, and the Parks Department definitely has a plan for it. So thank you, Phyllis.
That's good to hear because nothing has been done, and I think that it's worth taking a real good look at this property. We shouldn't let this happen to it. Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Anyone else for public comment? David?
Hi, good evening. My name is Jean Mallow. I live at 60 Dillon Road in Woodbridge. I'm here today to voice my support for the proposed revision to the existing firearms ordinance. I attended the ordinance committee meeting last week and listened to the discussion. I believe that this revision will promote the safety and welfare of the citizens of Woodbridge. The 2015 Gun Law State Scorecard presented by the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence indicates a direct correlation between smart gun laws and fewer gun deaths. States with the weakest laws have some of the highest gun death rates in the nation, while states with strong gun laws, like Connecticut, have some of the lowest gun death rates. After the Sandy Hook massacre in December 2012, the Connecticut legislature acted swiftly and decisively to pass comprehensive gun safety legislation with an act concerning gun violence prevention and children's safety, which includes a ban on assault weapons and large capacity ammunition magazines. In the fall of 2015, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit upheld Connecticut's bans on these weapons. With the passage of this ordinance, the citizens of Woodbridge will be safer on town-owned property. And I urge you to support this revision. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for public comment?
Good evening. David Lober, 35 Weppawag Road. I'd like to take this opportunity to offer my congratulations and best wishes to Beth Heller, our new first selectman-elect. I look forward to working with her very shortly to tackle the problems that Woodbridge has yet to resolve. I take heart in her advocacy for protecting and enhancing the Country Club of Woodbridge property and working across the aisle for the common good. Tonight I wish to bring to the board's attention the immediate need for short-term action involving mowing and maintaining the Country Club of Woodbridge property. The grass is growing, as is the poison ivy, the bittersweet, and the briars. Unattended, the property will deteriorate aesthetically and become less and less usable as invasive plants take over. This was a concern of the Conservation Commission's Chairman, Jason Morrell, who recommended a mowing program be established. Also, because of the mild winter, the hard, protracted frost needed to kill ticks in the leaf litter did not occur, making this one of the worst tick seasons I have experienced. Some 40% of the Lyme tick population has tested positive for the organisms causing Lyme disease. Having contracted Lyme disease myself last summer, experiencing fever of 104 degrees and complicating pneumonia, a common occurrence since Lyme disease and anaplasmosis suppresses the immune system, and having lost 2 weeks in July and all of August, I can attest firsthand as to its severity. To make the property safe and usable, the grass must be kept mowed and the ticks controlled. Delaying this until the new administration is sworn in will only make the problem exponentially worse and will make Beth's ability to protect and enhance the property that much more difficult. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment? We're now at Administrative Officer, Director of Finance report.
Thank you. So I have a report for you through April of 2017. And it's a $514,000 surplus at the end of the year, which brings our fund balance to 10.55% and about $5 million. So our fund balance is has improved and is in good shape. A couple of the changes from our prior report I'd like to highlight for you. The first is in intergovernmental revenues. We had previously projected a sort of a flat year there because of some reductions in ECS grants and et cetera. But as the superintendent pointed out earlier, with additional special education expenditures comes additional special education excess cost grant funds. And it's basically a reimbursement on a formula. And so there's an additional $100,000 projection there as the year has, as we've gone through the year, and we've gotten additional information on that. This assumes that this is under the current funding arrangement. Who knows what will happen next year, but under the current funding arrangement, we anticipate an additional $100,000 in excess cost grant funds. Interest income is projected to generate a surplus of $45,000. And of course, you know about the sale of the golf equipment, that's $70,000. Those are our major revenue highlights for the year. And our expenditures, the assessor's office should have a surplus of about $10,000 due to some staffing turnover. And due to utility savings in the center building, we should have about $7,500 savings there. Waste management is projected to save approximately $20,000. We had some lower than anticipated bulky waste and recycling tonnage. The Parks Department has a surplus of about $30,000 due to the elimination of the Parks foreman position in the reorganization of Public Works. Debt service should have a surplus of about $122,000 due to the timing of the issuance of the remaining debt on the Beecher project, which we hopefully will resolve tomorrow. And the benefits budget should have a surplus of about $80,000, largely due to savings in healthcare and from primarily in this particular year from vacant positions and coverage changes of new hires. So if we budget for, say, a family, and then we have a new hire and that person is either doesn't take the health care or is single, of course we save money there. So that's where a lot of those savings are coming from.
Any questions for Tony?
Yeah. So I just wanted to, Bob Gilbert said there was, I think it was like 358, but then there was like 50 some odd $1,000 deficit after.
Right.
So does this 100 cover that?
No, actually, I'm glad you brought that up. And under transfers, there's a sheet that has the balance and contingency. And I can go through that and some of the challenges that remain this year and what the idea is for that. That's one of them.
Okay.
Is for contingency funds to cover that.
And that was one. Then my other question would be, and I guess maybe you're going to give us an update, but we sold equipment from the golf course, but we still have mowers and things that we could use to.
We do.
Right, okay.
Yes, that'll be in the update on the country club property.
Okay.
And just to follow up with that, we weren't sure, but there might have been additional sales yet to come.
There could be.
Ball washers, things that were not removed in time.
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
there are
So that's
many
still
other items that can possibly be sold, if that's what the board chooses.
Okay.
Okay, nothing else on that? Pat Crisco, our tax collector, has recommended refund of property taxes in the amount of $6,002.94. The details are included in your packet, and I will make a motion that we approve the recommended refunds. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? No, if not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next item is a bid waiver, and this is to allow us to purchase the shade structure for the Pease Place playground. As you may all recall, we had a discussion about this a couple of months ago about the need for shade at the playground. The group that put this playground together did not have enough funds in the end for the shade structure. However, it was part of the plan that was approved by this board and approved by the land trust. There's $4,000 of funds remaining that I believe the group transferred to the town, so we have $4,000 towards it.
Actually, just to be clear about that, the $4,000 was remaining from the town's funding that we had done because we were short on the project.
Okay, we didn't spend everything that we allocated.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not from the group. As far as I know, the group doesn't really have much, correct?
I think and the group is disbanded. So we have $4,000 in the account. We've looked into the, I'm sorry?
The cost is what? I mean,
Yes, well, we're here. Do you see the bid waiver document? Is we've priced out the cost, including installation, is $21,095, of which we have this $4,000 allocated.
Where get that figure of $6,000? It was in my head. In the presentation, it was only going to cost $6,000.
No, I think there was the opportunity to get about $6,000 from the Rotary Club, but I know Tony had concerns about Rotary contributing. That would have been contributing towards this, but we don't have any Rotary funds.
No, it wasn't the concerns. The Rotary went a different route because it had to be in by a certain time, and there was a theme to what they donate. Each year there's a grant.
There was a timing issue.
There was a timing issue for this particular grant, for this particular, because it wasn't in place yet. There wasn't a 501(c)(3) anymore, correct, Terry? And so timing would have been improper, at least for that year.
I think that's what you're thinking about.
Maybe
and we don't
that's
have
what
those
it was.
funds.
It doesn't mean in the future that there couldn't be
That
requests.
was a better amount.
Yes, it was a better amount. Terry Schatz is here if anyone has questions about the playground or the shade structure. She was the co-chair of the group that put it together. We also distributed this evening, you may have all seen this before, but a letter from Dr. Watsky, dermatologist and section chief of dermatology at Yale New Haven, talking about the importance of shade for everyone, but particularly for children, and how important this would be. And certainly since this playground has been built, it's getting tremendous use. Children love it. I'm sure their parents love it too, but it's very important, I think, to have shade. So if the board is inclined to go ahead with funding this, it would be money from contingency, but we could use a bid waiver because it's on the state contract. So Tony has informed me that the first item would be to do a bid waiver, and then we can get to the fund transfer.
And the fund transfer's in with all the others.
With the fund transfer. Terry, did you want to add anything or say anything about this?
So just to reiterate what Dr. Watsky said, it's really important. It was unfortunate that we weren't able to finish the playground with that last structure, but again, we ran out of money with the site work. And I know that, as a parent of 3 young kids, I go to the playground and the kids play sports. They're at lacrosse and they're at soccer there, and then the kids want to stay and use the equipment. They're outside for an extended amount of time. Our goal is to get the kids outside and be more active, and we accomplish that mission, but at the same time, we really want to try and limit their UV radiation exposure. So by giving this the shade structure a place for them to take some time away, especially between 10 and 2, which is like the hottest part of the day, I think it's so critical. I mean, again, it's a big open area. If anybody hasn't seen it, there's no shade at all. There's no trees. There's nothing. So, it would be wonderful that if the town was able to provide this for safety reasons.
Can I ask Terry a question? So, are there tables, is the idea that at some point there will be tables and chairs inside?
So we actually purchased
Or are we just all standing there like this?
So the tables are already there, and they were configured according to the plan so that if and when the town did put a shade structure, it would go right over them.
So the tables and chairs that are there
So
now
we had the
will
money
be
for the
moved.
tables,
I
and
see.
they're set up,
Right.
ergonomically, and also that they can all be under that 20 by 30 canopy.
Right, okay. That would be great if we had to stand up. We're just all standing.
But
But it would be shade.
It would be shaded.
Very good friends.
So Tony, from an accounting standpoint here, I recall, I think this happened right when we got on in 2013, and there was a $200,000 grant.
Right.
And this was supposed to be
To cover that.
basically to
Right.
cover this, and then we had to do site work that maybe wasn't
Correct.
anticipated.
That's
The
correct.
town-
It was
So
the
the
site
town
work.
spent 50 some odd,
It wasn't quite that much, but it was maybe 30.
okay.
If
Have
I
we
remember
spent any
correctly.
other funds for this?
I'm sorry?
Did we spend any other town funds or just?
Just that one few transfers that we did around that time.
Okay.
There hasn't been any money or town funds spent on the playground since then.
So you guys did some fundraising.
Did a lot
I
of
think you did a lot
fundraising.
of
We did a
fundraising.
brick campaign.
Right.
We did some smaller events through local businesses. And we would have continued to, however, the 501c3 closed once the town took over.
Was that because of the town's choice, or that you chose to close the? Yes.
My husband needed me back home. No. It was.
I'm sorry, I didn't
my
hear
husband
that.
needed me back home. No, we were just 24/7 for the playground, and after 7 years, we really couldn't continue to put any more time. I mean, at the point where we did the ribbon cutting when we opened it for the celebration, it was ready. It was open. I mean, the playground as it was complete. Yeah, it just it just needed the shade.
So once we do this, that's it, right?
No, that's not it.
That's how everything.
No, I understand that, but.
That's how everything
There's
would have
no
been.
other plans, there's nothing open structurally or open from the plans that.
No, not
okay.
unless, the town wants to add on
Well, if we
in the
enhance it or
future,
add
but
on, that's different. But in
right,
terms
they would
of
have to go back, I think, to the land trust or whoever else.
Your original plan, this is the last piece.
Correct.
So my fantasy of an ice cream pavilion is not happening.
Well, you never know.
But you never know.
You can come public comment and say.
There's a new board coming up.
There
They
you
might
go.
have a different chair.
There you go. Are there any
Okay.
other questions
May
for
I say
Terry?
something? Well, I think you've heard my point on this. The first thing I noticed about this plan, and from the beginning, was that you would be an open space, and if you had children playing there, you need some kind of protection from the sun, and also not only from the sun, but there was a lot of wetlands over there. So, after putting gobs of suntan lotion on somebody, you need to put bug medicine afterwards. But it's a health problem, and I know that very well. So I recommend to the board, in spite of what I thought about this playground all along, I recommend that because it's there, we should provide the shade.
Okay.
Any other questions for Terry? Thank you.
Thank
you.
Thanks.
So, is there a motion to approve a bid waiver for the shade structure for Pease Place Playground? Do I have to say the amount?
Say it
for the?
fast.
Yeah.
Please, playground.
Yeah, okay, a bid waiver for the purchase of the hip shade shelter for a total price including installation of $21,095 and to purchase this on the state contract.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you. Funding requests.
Okay.
Okay, I will move funding request 2017-26 in the amount of $109,165 to fund salary increases as a result of contract negotiations. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Tony, do you want to speak to this?
Sure. These are the increases as a result of the contract negotiations which settled this past winter, and which includes 2 years of retroactive increases and then the current year. So it was actually almost 3 years, 15, 16, 17, of increases that were not given until the contract settled. You'll notice that some departments are missing because there are certain departments that have had staff turnover, and so there's opportunities within the staff turnover to possibly pay for the increases in those departments. So police is an example. They've had several vacancies throughout the year, and so there shouldn't be a need to transfer from outside the police department budget from contingency to cover those increases, which is why there are only a certain number here.
So this isn't the full amount.
It's not, but I'm hopeful.
It's close.
That's the close, and that we should, some of them are, maybe close, but, and that's part of the discussion I can get into when we talk about contingency. If you want to do that now, or
Contingency fund. This was out of the Board of Finance.
it comes out of contingency. Yeah, there's a contingency sheet here. There's an updated one that was sent that has the. Before you vote on this, we should probably go through this. That has the shelter, the shade cover, which is the contingency balance is 414. That's the most current one. And so some of the items that are still remaining for contingency would be some of the other departments that may possibly need some of their increases covered. We stay tuned on that. The Woodbridge Board of Education, they mentioned earlier. We have had a boiler. We discussed this earlier, but we have 2 boilers at the center building, one failed.
I thought we were done with those.
And so the other one has not. And so we are investigating that and should have hopefully some information for you in June on that. Let's see. What the benefits. The fire department has had some issues with their equipment, and this was actually discussed at the Board of Finance, and the idea was to see through the extent of the year how much, and then at the end of the year to transfer if they don't have it in their budget. So we're waiting to see how their budget turns out before we do that. And similarly, we've had discussion are replacing some of our servers in the finance department, and again, that was something that was decided that we would fund this year through contingency as opposed to putting it in the budget for next year. So those are some of the items that remain that we should be wrapping up in June with contingency, but hopefully there will still be a balance remaining.
So have you monetized any of that stuff?
I have.
So you think that this 414
Yes.
covers?
It's gonna cover.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. The only wild card is the departments that remain and how we finish out the year. Police, for example, they have one major case, one major incident, overtime could cause a problem. But if it doesn't, you know, we're at Public Works. I was waiting for Public Works for, obviously we're not gonna get any more snow. So hopefully there won't be any more overtime in Public Works, that we won't have to deal with that issue. So we will
we're
definitely
close,
have
but
enough.
you feel comfortable?
Yes, I'm definitely comfortable we'll have enough.
Was there also a possible boiler issue at the library or
Yeah, there's a small boiler issue with the library. Should only be
smaller number?
Yeah, $3,000-4,000. So that may be some. There may be some smaller items also that could result, but those are the major ones that I just mentioned.
Good.
The one at the center is a major piece of equipment and could be expensive.
Any other questions on contingency or on this first funding request 2017-26? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. I'll move line item transfer 1617-27 in the amount of $3,000, and this is for additional funds in vehicle parts budget line. Tony, you wanna do this one?
It's just there wasn't enough in the budget to cover the parts, so
So it's, and it's a
it's just a
transfer within the
shortfall.
department.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Any questions or discussion? Oh, is there a second?
Second.
Is someone second already? Okay, we got a motion and second. Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I'll move line item transfer 1617-28 in the amount of $10,000, and this is another intra-department transfer to cover the increased costs of addressing the dead and dying trees due to emerald ash borer disease, something that I do think the next board is going to have to look at in the budget because we have many ash trees.
It's a big problem.
So I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any
So
questions? Or
You just quickly on this. So Warren has in his budget some money that he uses for road repair, not paving, but some crack sealing or some minor fixes. But he felt that the ash borer problem is so significant that he'd rather spend it on that.
So these trees are where? Just all around town, but I mean in the
They're within
right
the
of
town's
way, they're in the
right-of-way.
town's right away?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
We could pick
Well,
them
I
up
know
and
he
move them,
removed,
but
he removed a lot off the Fitzgerald property.
Or on town property in general.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
I just wanted.
Over the course of the past few months. There's a lot gone now.
Yeah.
removing them prevents it from spreading, right, to other trees, so it's something,
Not-
that's what they told me
No,
when they
no,
took mine down.
It's very
Is that a
careful.
load
No,
of?
it's when you have to be very careful where you pass it through. It's a very difficult thing because it will contaminate. They can, unless there are no ash trees. They're only looking for ash trees.
Right, no, I understand that.
Well, let's hope that's true.
Yes, I know. Because it's a big problem. Michael Luther actually came and said that we need to put more money in the budget too, because he's concerned. Yeah, okay.
All right, so
To start.
let's vote on item 1617-28. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And now I'll move funding request 1617-30 in the amount of $6,000 for replacement of failed air conditioning at the police department. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Tony?
So the air conditioning unit failed over at the police department. It cools the radio room, which has most of the communication equipment for the town. And currently, it gets so hot in there that we have to have a separate unit for it. It's required.
It's a big unit, I guess, for
Yeah,
$6,000.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
And it's
but
very
it is
critical
what it is.
to
Yeah,
the-
absolutely.
yeah.
And it comes out of building maintenance.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
'cause
building
it's
maintenance
their
will, it'll be a
business.
contractor to do
Got
it,
it,
but.
okay.
Any other questions? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. And finally, I'll move funding request 1617-31 in the amount of $16,675, and this is for the purchase and installation of a hip shade shelter at the Pease Place Playground. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Tony, have anything more to say on
No.
this? Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Great, thank you. The next item is a request from the police department to apply for a highway traffic safety reimbursement grant. This is something the police department has done for many years, I believe.
Yeah, it's been a few years since they've done it, but they had routinely done this for many years in the past.
Is there a motion to approve the application for the grant?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions?
I have one
Yes.
question, the 2,455.66 that
Mhm.
the town's required.
Right.
Where's
It's
it
in,
come-
it's,
It's in their budget?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
a combination of their budget and benefits. Includes benefits when you
Okay.
pay overtime. You know.
Anything else? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you. Okay, Tony, electricity and the cooperative purchase.
So the town of Woodbridge is in a purchasing pool with Amity and Bethany and the Woodbridge Board of Education for our electricity purchasing. Our current rate is probably around 7.5, 7.6 cents. And we review this routinely with our consultant, and we all felt, with the consultant's advice, that it was time to lock in, go out to bid and lock in additional future rates. The currently ours expires in December, but based on the timing of the winter months and the summer months, which summer is historically higher, we have reviewed a lot of the data, and we're 6 or 7 bids we received. And so we're put in a cooperative pool with a lot of other entities, a lot of different. They try to match us with other businesses that are maybe have different needs so we can fit to get the best pricing. So anyway, the low bid was Blue Rock Energy, and it's a price of 7.9 cents. So we're under 8 cents still, and that's a 24-month contract. So that'll bring us through 2019.
Beginning.
December
Okay.
December of
When
2017.
that one expires.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we felt that was a great rate, and that we wanted to lock in for price stability for our electricity. Yeah.
Questions?
It's a slight increase, but a 2-year.
Very slight increase, but we're locked in till almost 2020.
Yeah.
Anything else? If not, is there a motion to, I guess, authorize the
Oh,
first?
the other thing is that the Amity Board of Education and the Woodbridge Board of Education, Board of Ed, and I believe Bethany have already approved it. So we're just waiting for us.
So, is this an authorization for me to enter into the contract?
Correct.
I presume. Okay, is there a motion to authorize the first selectman to enter into a contract with Blue Rock Energy for a 24-month period at a rate of 7.925?
So moved.
Second.
Any other questions or discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now, we're at Tony's other, and one of the things was, I know, Joe, you had requested an update on the mowing and the country club, and I just do want to say I agree with the speakers that we have a beautiful parcel of property, and we need to pay close attention to make it a town treasure, which it has been and I think will continue to be. Adam is closely watching it with a plan, and Tony has updates about what he's doing.
I can certainly give you an update. The first is that we do have the equipment to be able to maintain the property at a certain level. Obviously, it won't be like a golf course, but it'll be at a certain level, and including a rough mower and some other mowers to be able to manicure the various areas. When speaking with Adam on this, it's very much in the eye of the beholder in terms of what exactly you want for the property. One person may want one thing, and another person may not another. And so, to some extent, I think he's looking for a little bit of guidance on exactly what areas you want manicured. The one thing that he definitely will do and will continue to do is to mow around the paths, the cart paths, which are the walking trails, on enough space on each side so that you can keep them an easy path for people to walk on, and so you don't get things growing over or ticks or anything else of that nature.
And that's already being done.
He has a plan for that already, yeah, exactly. And if there are any other suggestions, of course, I don't know if there's a mowing plan. You said that Jason had a mowing plan or something.
I'm not familiar with that, but I think the other thing is that Adam had talked about the larger areas.
Yeah, so that's the other issue is the larger areas. There are several options. The fairways, you can let them grow. You could pay them once, twice a year. You can let them, it's
So
sort
is
of.
he looking to this board for decisions? on that?
I think he's looking for the town to provide some guidance on exactly how you want the property to look, so that he can apply the appropriate resources. Keep in mind that we don't have the resources for it to be a golf course.
Yeah, we know that.
But there could be varying levels or various areas that you may want manicured a little differently than others.
Well, didn't he talk about a meadow?
Like-
I mean, some people might prefer the large areas be meadows.
Right.
And in
So
that
he
case,
said he would
you
do
mow a
that.
certain.
He would do that probably once or twice, probably once a year, so that you don't get large trees growing and other things. But he would pretty much leave it alone most of the year.
So what committee, it sounds like we need a committee for this job.
Why?
Well,
No, I mean,
we don't need to make that decision now. This is not something. You said by the fall he kind of needs to know this.
yeah.
So I think it's for the next board to maybe talk a little bit more about it. But he certainly is attentive to it, and I think there are different options that will be.
He has a
followed.
very specific mowing plan. I don't know all the details to it, but I know he has a specific mowing plan to definitely attend to the areas where people will be walking. If that makes sense. The walking paths.
To mow the fairways?
Yes, we do.
Well, we have rough mowers.
Yeah, we have rough
fairway
mowers.
mowers.
We have rough mowers. I think we have one fairway mower still.
We have one there?
Yeah, but we definitely have the rough mowers, which is what
We
he
don't have
used
green
to.
mowers, do we?
No.
I don't think
We're not doing the
so.
greens.
No, he's got the rough mower, which is what he
in
used
other words,
to
mow
mow.
it all the way down, like a green. Yeah.
I don't
Well, I'm
think
just
so.
asking whether we have
It's
them.
the rough mower that he would use to,
Right.
to mow around the paths.
So has he
And
started
he's got
any
a
of this
mower,
yet? He hasn't
flail
started
mower or
any of this yet.
I thought for the paths he was doing that.
Because
but
we
maybe-
heard public comment saying,
I'm not sure of exact timing of when he's but he just told me that he's going to keep it manicured appropriately. I could find out exactly when he's going to start.
yeah, okay.
So is there a way to talk to Adam about, I don't know what would be involved, but the notion might be, until we can absolutely figure out what we do with this property, unless we already have, but I don't think we have, because we haven't voted on it. To at least keep those fairways mowed down a little bit. And if you mowed one or two a day and just kept rotating them,
I'm not
I don't know
sure.
what kind of resources he has.
Right. I'm not sure if the resources he has or would be appropriate. We have the resources to do that.
Sheep.
To mow like
No,
this.
I'm not kidding.
Well,
Sheep
we did vote that we were not keeping equipment necessary to maintain a golf course or to maintain the greens, but we were keeping equipment to be sure that we could maintain the property.
Right,
and I
and
believe that's what he's done.
And
We've
I'm
sold
not
everything.
suggesting keep them down to like playable condition.
Right.
Rather than just keep the grass down so that it doesn't
And also, I'm concerned about ticks and all that.
That's
It's
the
a
primary
big
issue,
problem
it
that
seems
I'm
to
worried
me.
about right now, even
Yeah.
in my yard, and all over the town.
Well, that's why it's important to keep where people
Right.
might be walking.
Right.
And I think that's
Sure.
that's his number one focus.
That's his number one
We know
focus.
he has the equipment
Right.
for it, he has a plan
Correct.
for it. It's not just the actual paths, but a good swath on each side.
Correct.
So that it's not
Correct.
overgrown.
Would
That's
it
his
be
main
appropriate
focus.
for him to come and talk to us about?
Sure.
Yes,
the
you could,
plan next
absolutely.
month?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
that?
couldn't arrange it for today, but
I
sure.
don't think
Sure.
you should laugh at my idea of sheep. Serious.
Do you have some?
No, I don't.
Okay.
but It's not a bad idea at all.
Do you want him to come in
said
June or
goats.
July?
And,
No,
and the goats do a good job
around.
I'm sorry.
No,
I think June would be good.
that's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Cows.
You have movable pens.
Yeah, they move them.
Cows?
Cows eat grass,
Cows.
and goats eat poison ivy.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
I think we're clearly way out of our area of
Yeah.
expertise here, but I do know
I
people.
think
He's
we
coming
should-
next,
Yeah.
next
I think
time,
you should
that's
come as
great.
soon as possible, if that would
Sure.
be okay
Sure.
with everybody else to
I'm sure
get a
you'd be-
plan, and maybe he could bring us.
And ticks are clearly the important, most important.
Yes,
thing, right?
that's what I'm worried about.
Okay, anything else on that?
Tony, well, I have one last thing. So, understand that he may come next month, but the truth is, I'm sure he's looking for some kind of guidance on whether he needs to cut more often than not, but between now and next month is a long time this is the heaviest growing season.
Right.
So I'm sure he's looking for guidance.
So the immediate guidance that I am hearing is that to attend to the areas where people will be walking
Walking
and be
and
very
sensitive
sensitive to ticks
ticks,
and
yeah.
things that could cause
Correct.
ticks to people to get in contact with.
Well,
Yeah, as I understood-
My
Is that it?
opinion would be to cut the fairways in the rough and just cut them down and don't let them get too high. Because in another month, they're gonna be,
And what's
3 feet tall.
Would
to
that
what
be-
end?
Yeah.
I'm asking seriously, to what end keeping the, because I didn't understand this, that he was looking for guidance on any short-term action. I thought it was on something
Longer
with
term.
longer term,
Right.
whether we have a meadow vision or
Or
other
you want it
kind
to
of
just
vision. I didn't
grow
think there was anything.
wild and just,
well,
you
I
know,
don't think
nature will
we
take
have,
over
we've never
eventually.
discussed that vision. So.
No, that's right. That's why we had time for it. So we'll make sure he comes.
So
in.
my opinion is until we develop that vision, we should try to keep this thing.
Would that have a cost impact, more to his
Possibly.
budget?
Yeah, possibly.
Well, sure, I mean, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
he should
you may
be.
have to hire
have to
additional
talk to him
personnel.
about his
Should be there.
resources and
Yeah,
what
exactly.
he could allocate.
Probably may have to hire some part seasonal.
Okay.
So I think we'll ask him what he can do within available resources and to come in June. Right. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? We're at item 9, Assistant Administrative Officer's Report. Betsy?
I just have a couple updates for all of you. If you remember back almost a year ago, I think it was, we heard from a company called CGI who plans to come to Woodbridge to make free promotional videos that will be hosted on the town's website for 2 years. And the day has finally come. They'll be here in town next week on Tuesday and Wednesday filming things. So I'll be working with them. So you may see me running around with a videographer. So that's what's going on. And the hope is that the videos will be on the town website starting in early July. So it would coincide with the new board and with the new fiscal year. Another exciting thing that happened very recently is today there was a solar installation on the library roof. If you all recall, that is a result of the hard work from the Ad Hoc Energy Advisory Task Force. They did a very successful solar campaign. And as a result, we earned a free 5 kilowatt array. And if I remember correctly, that's about 18 panels. So it's on it's on a short side of the library roof. If you're in the smaller parking lot, you should be able to see it quite clearly. And lastly, I just wanted to let you all know that earlier this week we did some fire drills at all of our municipal buildings, and Joe Capucci was with me, and they timed everything, and everyone got out in an orderly fashion. And if it had been real, we would all be very safe.
They didn't know it was a
Nobody
drill.
knew. Me and Joe Capucci.
Betsy didn't tell Tony.
Yeah. That's how you do it.
I told him like 5 minutes
A couple
before.
minutes before, because
Gosh.
you don't want me to tell the whole staff.
Oh, okay.
That's good news. It worked very well.
Thank
You're
you,
not a
Betsy.
leaker, are you?
No, I am not.
Betsy, thank you for both projects.
Yeah.
Good, very good job. Any other questions for Betsy? Okay. All right, item 10 is Town Council's report, and this is with respect to the possible sale of 31 Enoch Drive, a topic we've discussed before, and we will discuss again.
We've discussed this several times in the past couple of years, I think, so I'm just going to hand out.
Do you want to, is that for executive session?
Yeah, we can go, we should go into executive session.
Right,
Yeah.
so, yes.
I really would like to leave at 7 o'clock, so I have something to read about this thing, if I could, even before we go to the executive session, if that's okay with you, so I can go.
Why don't you just leave it for the record and Jerry will take care of it?
No, I'd like to read it.
Before we, well, I
don't know,
don't
I mean-
object to your reading something, but if it's going to have false facts in it, I will ask you to stay until we refute them.
Okay.
I think that's the best thing to do, is to listen to the presentation
All
and the
right, well,
proposal
I'm willing to do that.
before you read that letter.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, so what we're going to do is discuss the terms of a possible sale, and that is appropriate for executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Connecticut General Statute, Section 1-200(6) with respect to the potential sale of town land? And I will say that I think it's important that we do it in executive session so that it does not have a negative impact on the value of the land.
So inviting anybody in?
I'm sorry? Yeah, oh, thank you, Joe. Yes, I would like to invite
Thank you.
town council, I'm not sure about Maria, but I think she comes in anyway, and Tony Genovese. Yes, and Jerry?
Terry.
Oh, Terry, yes, and Terry Gilbertson, yes. Thank you, that's all part of the motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Session, but we discussed the possible sale of 31 Enoch Drive. We have a draft MOU with some of the key elements that that we talked about, and town council will now read them for the record.
So the proposal is that the town sell to Kathleen Latronica, who lives at 39 Round Hill Road, the town-owned property at 31 Enoch Drive, which is contiguous to Ms. Latronica's property. And the purchase price is $175,000 plus another approximate $6,500, which the town owes to the association for maintenance and road repair of a common road that goes up to the property. The total purchase price is approximately $181,000. The reason the town is considering purchasing the property is selling the property is to allow the Latronicas to reconfigure a current easement on the property which runs through the Latronica property along a gas line, which is very hilly and very difficult to ingress and egress to town-owned property at 25 Enoch Drive and as well as the Greenway. So Mr. Latronica has said if the town sells him this piece of property, 31 Enoch Drive, he will be willing to grant easements on both pieces, 31 and 39, which would make a superior trail that will allow townsfolk to get ingress and egress to the Greenway in a much safer and much more efficient manner. And it would actually probably lead to much more use of the property because the existing easement is very difficult to traverse. We will have descriptions of the easement at the time we have a special town meeting because our charter requires any sale of property be subject to voter approval at a special town meeting. And I think that we will enter into a formal contract for sale with Mr. Latronica and Kathleen Latronica that will contain all the terms of the agreement by the time of the special town meeting, if the board approves the special town meeting.
Thank you. Is there a motion to refer this potential sale of 31 Enoch Drive to a special town meeting?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Aye.
Maria. I would like to suggest then that we schedule the special town meeting for June 8th at 7 p.m. In the center gym. If that is acceptable to everyone, I don't think we need to vote on that, on the date,
No.
do we, Jerry? Okay, so we will schedule that meeting. June 8th at 7 p.m. in the gym. And Terry Gilbertson will be there along with the trail master, Mike Walter, and Bob Criscolo, who does our engineering. These will, hopefully they'll be there. We'll definitely invite them at that time. Thank you. Jerry, anything else in your report?
Dog leashes.
Oh, well, that's ordinance.
That's ordinance.
Ordinance.
You want
Okay.
that later?
Jumped
Okay.
on.
So I have nothing else on my report other
Okay.
than,
All right, now.
so excited about the dog leashes.
Animal issues. Yes, we.
I think we come pretty close,
Don't be
right?
sheepish.
Yeah, okay.
We're there.
Yes.
Look at that.
Okay. Now, the ordinance committee met last week and voted to recommend to this board 2 ordinance changes. The first is with respect to dog leashes and having a leash ordinance in Woodbridge. This was brought to our attention by Karen Lombardi, our animal control officer, and Adam Parsons, both of whom have experienced situations that they think warrant consideration of the issue, and they very much support having a leash law. And in accordance with our discussion and recommendation, Town Council has drafted language. Jerry, do you want to describe that to us?
Yeah, someone suggested we should look at a leash law, and hence we have a proposed leash law for the Board of Selectmen to consider. The town has an existing ordinance relating to removal of dog litter on publicly owned properties, and what I've done is I've just incorporated a new section which relates to the requirement that anyone that has a dog and is walking on publicly owned properties would have to have that dog on a leash. And it also provides for certain penalties if someone is caught to be in violation of that, and the penalties are $100 for the first offense and $200 for the second offense and each subsequent offense. And again, we took the existing dog ordinance and we just add a section, made some changes to it, to the existing ordinance, and hence we have an ordinance that if approved at a public hearing that the town will schedule, the town will then have an ordinance that says no one can have a dog on publicly owned properties without it being leashed.
And the process, Jerry, is that would we vote tonight? We don't vote tonight to approve it. We just vote to hold a public hearing.
Right.
And then at the conclusion of the public hearing, this board votes whether or not to approve it or to make some changes in accordance with what we
The public hearing, we take comments from anyone. They can comment on the wording. They can comment on whether they think the language should be changed or modified in any way, added, subtracted. And at the end of the public hearing, at the end of all comments, then the board votes on whether to adopt the ordinance.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Just on the definition section, be property or area,
Yes.
where it says, or the common areas of any private property. Not quite sure what.
So neither am I, Joe, and I took that exactly from our existing ordinance. I didn't want to change that at all unless the board thinks we should. I think it doesn't do any harm, and again, I'm not sure, Ellen and I talked about that.
I just don't quite know what it means. So.
Yeah, if you look at our charter, there's a lot of things in there that we don't understand.
Yeah.
But
Well, I wonder if it means like a common driveway that serves 3 or 4 pieces of property.
Well, but I think the intent is
So if it's shared, you
public
can't
property.
poop on it.
The intent is public property.
Well,
They can go poop on your private driveway.
But this is
like
for-
you, once we read it,
But that definition crosses over to the leash law. So
Yes.
That's why I'm questioning exactly kind of what that means, because.
well, what Betsy and I came up with before, we also realized it was in the existing ordinance, is that you might have private property that extends to the sidewalk, right? And if you're walking your dog in front of somebody else's house, it has to be on a leash. Our understanding, though, at reading it, is that it does not apply if your neighbor invites you over to her backyard, her fenced backyard, to have a dog party and have your dog off the leash. Of course, the private property owner can give you that permission.
It's a doggy play date.
It's a doggy play date. But
Do it all the time.
it's not crystal clear, but it has, I don't know how long it's been in existence, and we've been living with it. We certainly can
I think we
We
could
could get
strike
that.
it, but I think at some point in time, it may
Meant
come-
something to someone.
It may mean something to someone, so I don't think it does any harm.
Okay.
But that's up to
Good
you guys.
question.
It's a very good question. You picked it out. Ellen did as well.
I hesitate to have an ordinance with language, we don't know what it means.
Well,
But then you look at our ordinances, you can throw all 90% of it out.
Okay, I'll leave that to you, you're town council.
But if between now and June 8th, there are suggestions, we look at something else, we
take
can
it out
always
at the
change
public
that at the
hearing.
time.
That's just my comment, I mean,
Yeah.
other than that.
You're going to have the public hearing on June 8th?
So I have to make a, I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is there a motion? I didn't make the motion yet, did I?
No, you were just saying June 8th, and I was just...
Yeah, so I will move that we schedule a public hearing on this leash ordinance, a special town meeting for June 8th.
No, it's not, it's a public hearing.
Oh, public hearing, I'm sorry,
So,
I'm
are
sorry.
you going to do the same day we're having a
That's
special, I think you
You
do
want
it
June 14th.
at the next Board of Selectmen meeting, the
June
public
14th.
hearing.
Right.
June
Right, we've
14th.
done
But I
those
think that
before,
may
yeah.
be too, oh, I'm in the wrong section, I'm sorry, June 14th.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm reading my notes. Yes. I move that we have a public hearing on this ordinance on Wednesday, June 14th at 5 p.m. Is there a second? Thank you. Any corrections, questions, or discussion?
Well, the 5 PM, I think you already scheduled a 5 o'clock PM public hearing for
Neighborhood Assistance Act.
Neighborhood Assistance Act, so make
Okay.
it 5:30.
Or 5:15.
5:15.
5:15.
5:15,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
Possible.
5:05.
Why don't we make it 5:05?
Yeah,
Because that takes no
that's
time, and then if
first
we're
one.
late, that's a good idea. Okay, 5:05.
Who seconded that?
I think I might have.
Yep.
Good job.
Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. And now, the ordinance committee also voted unanimously to recommend to this board changes in our firearms ordinance. We had someone, Jean Rollo spoke to that earlier. And again, the history on this is that we had, well, Cherry, do you want to speak to that, how we, or I could start, well, we had a town resident come with his lawyer to point out that something in our firearms ordinance conflicted with state law, and we agreed that they were correct because we prohibited weapons within 500 yards, and state law is 500 feet, and state law preempts our doing that. So we agreed that that should be changed, and in doing so, we took a good look at our town ordinance and have now recommended to this board that we prohibit firearms on town property. And that is what this does. Jerry, do you want to speak any more to it, or
No,
Joe or Susan?
I think that's what it does. I think the intent is to make sure that there is no person shall possess a firearm, air gun, air rifle, crossbow, longbow, archery equipment, or other weapon on any town-owned property and/or in town-owned buildings, except any lawful possession of firearms on roads, highways, and streets within the town shall be permitted. So that's really the essential. There's some other modifications to the existing ordinance. As Ellen said, we changed the 500 yards to feet to be in conformance with state statutes. And we've also had this ordinance reviewed by a fairly large law firm who volunteered pro bono to look at this and see whether it would uphold any kind of challenges, and they said it was perfectly reasonable and permissible ordinance for the town to consider.
So, that said, is there a motion to schedule a public hearing on this proposed ordinance change with respect to firearms? And I would also suggest that we do that also on June 14th. Can we hear both at the same time?
Sure.
And people can
One
speak
we have
up?
to have separate
One
public
after
hearing,
the other.
one after the other.
Okay,
Right.
so why don't we say at 5:45, and again, if the other one runs late. So motion to schedule a public hearing on this proposed ordinance change for June 14th at 5:45 here at Town Hall. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Well, I'll second it, but I'm just thinking about the schedule.
5 o'clock is the public assistance, which should take 5 minutes.
Right.
5:05 is the leash law, which I don't think will take too long, and then 5:45 on the,
So if we have you can also call the Board of Selectmen meeting to order in between.
Well, that's a good point.
And go to agenda items if there's a gap, correct?
In
Can
case
you
the
do
leash
that?
law takes 5 minutes and we have 25.
Right,
minutes.
exactly.
Oh,
We've
that's a
done-
good point.
We've done those in the past as part of our agenda, haven't we?
Public
Yeah, but
hearing?
Public hearing?
But you have to publish
So-
the time of the hearing, I think,
Oh,
don't you?
Jerry?
Right.
May
so-
I ask a question? Jerry, this is for Jerry to answer. Because we're scheduling them all at different times, will that mean 3 separate advertisements in the newspaper?
You can put it all in one. You can just put one that just, the one
Just
that.
one and give separate times for each
Exactly,
one?
and separate, you're gonna have to incorporate a summary, I think. You
Oh,
do a
yes, in each
summary of
one.
the- And there'll be a summary of the first one, and then a summary of
No,
the second one.
that's fine. I just
Right.
wondered if,
You don't need separate ones now.
okay, I was only wondering about the time.
Or can we
Different
schedule a
times.
public hearing with a 2-part agenda? Item 1 is
Yes.
the leash law, and item 2 is the other one?
guns.
Can't we do it that way
Yes.
instead of
That's
giving
all-
times?
that solves my problem.
I think that's fine.
And then
That's
people would
okay.
come at 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock. Why don't we just do it at 5 o'clock?
Do it at 5 o'clock and we'll do, yeah.
That's fine.
That way we don't sit for 20 minutes.
That solves
waiting
my
for the
problem.
next.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
And that will be here in the meeting room.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Are there any other questions or
Now,
discussion?
who moved and seconded that?
I moved.
I seconded it.
If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, Personnel Committee. The Personnel Committee met this evening and has recommendations for this board. The first item is a recommendation that, well, I'm going to talk about them together, but we'll vote on them separately. The recommendation is that the Recreation Office Manager and the Fire Department Clerk both have salary increases to bring them up to the senior clerk salaries for the town. The senior clerk positions are union positions in that the salary is set, and we had a request for 1 increase, and Tony looked at these and felt that these positions should be at least at the senior clerk level. So I will make a motion that we increase the Recreation Office Manager's salary from $22.32 an hour to $22.74 an hour. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And these are the numbers, these are the salaries at the current time prior to the increases that will take effect in July. Okay. Any questions or discussion about Recreation Office? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And I'll make the motion that we increase the Fire Department clerk salary from $22.34 an hour to $22.74 an hour. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Next is the Youth Services Director, and this is a position with supervisory responsibilities and others, and this salary also was below senior clerks and someone who's been here for quite a long time.
Right.
And the recommendation is to increase the salary from $45,275 annually to $47,775, an increase of $2,500 a year. Would someone like to make that motion?
So
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Assistant Administrative Officer. Do you want to? Betsy didn't know. I don't know if you want to. You're welcome to stay or whatever. Okay. So our Assistant Administrative Officer has been doing an outstanding job. We don't give raises for outstanding jobs. We expect everyone to do that. At the time Betsy was hired, we actually had in our budget the ability to go up to $60,000 annually, and we started at $55,000, and in part that was because the scope of the role was unclear to us. It was shortly after Tony took on his dual responsibilities. Many of us were new on this board, and we knew that Betsy would be taking over Joe Hellauer's responsibilities, which included constituent issues and foreclosures, but there was a great deal more, and we didn't know how that would turn out. Well, the position has grown significantly over this time. Betsy has organized and leads the Town Safety Committee, which included the fire drills, which had not been happening, and other safety and security items. She has staffed the Energy Task Force as well as the Conservation Commission. That's something new, staffing committees. And she's been the organizer of our green energy initiatives, including the solar challenge, the HES initiatives, the LED bulbs, and many other things. Betsy is participating in interview committees and has taken on supervisory responsibilities, including for Tony Belinsky at the front desk. She's also worked hard in the communications area. Most significantly, from my point of view, is the new town newsletter, which is very significant for many reasons. First of all, we now send a newsletter to every household for less money than we were spending on sending just to the seniors. But more importantly, it's helping to change the culture of the town by breaking down the silos between various departments. We had recreation, and we had library, and we had seniors, instead of communicating with our town as a town. I really think it changes the nature of how it feels to be in Woodbridge having that. At the same time, she's been flexible in accommodating both administrative officer priorities and first selectman priorities, and she has two direct reports, to Tony and to me, and there's never been an issue or a problem about it. So given that expansion of the role, we thought an increase was in order, and the recommendation to this board is that we increase Betsy's salary from $59,142, which it now is, given the increases over the years, to $63,142. And I will very happily make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion?
Personnel committee endorsed that as well.
We did.
Unanimous, yep.
I would say that we looked at multiple new responsibilities that Betsy took on, her position took on. When at least the two of us were here, Ellen and I sat on the personnel committee when the position was formed, I believe with Lawrence at the time. And I remember distinctly at that time, we did start at the low end because we weren't sure. We knew there would be responsibilities to Jerry's position as well. And so we weren't sure what would come of it. And since her involvement, it's quite more intense. Yeah, there's many more hats being worn. So, including some hours that maybe clearly somebody else would have to be performing. So I think today was just the justification of what we did.
And now any hats we buy for Betsy, we have to buy two. Anything else on that? If not, all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well deserved. Well deserved. Okay, next we have a recommendation for a CCW pool director. Tony?
So we've been diligently sending out ads to try to get applications for a pool director, and we had an interview committee. Yeah, just give me this one out there.
I don't need one.
Just one for Joe.
It's for Joe.
Just Jerry. And so the interview committee, which consisted of John and a member of the Rec Commission and myself, we interviewed LaDonna Reynolds. LaDonna was the pool director at several country clubs, including the Pine Orchard Yacht Club and the one Paradise Country Club, where she served as assistant director. She was familiar with operating the pool, lifeguards. She's got a lifeguard certification, obviously. Supervisory experience, using filters and pool filters she was very familiar with. Using chemicals she was also very familiar with. And so we were very impressed with her application. So we would like to recommend her for the position of pool director at the Country Club of Woodbridge. You do have this.
I'll make the motion, yeah. Right. I will make a motion that we approve hiring LaDonna Reynolds as the pool director, subject to a background check and reference checks, which are underway but not completed
Correct.
Yet.
Right.
And at a salary to be determined by the first selectman in conjunction with Tony Genovese. We had discussion about this in the personnel committee. They have not discussed salary yet. We talked about parameters and history.
It's such a compressed time frame from when we set the ad out to getting the person on board that some of the items haven't been fully discussed.
So that's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any
You did it?
questions, any
Okay.
other questions or discussion?
we have a budget, right?
We do.
We have a budget.
We do, and it will be within the
Right.
budget.
Okay.
And has LaDonna been interviewed only by you?
It was a committee of three.
A committee of three.
Yeah.
And
It was me and John and Andrea.
Andrea Weinstein.
okay, from the recreation. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, and that was
rec bought
unanimous
in.
as well.
Yep.
Right. Okay.
And that was unanimous as
Right.
well, right?
Great.
So we have a motion and second, I believe. Yes. Any other questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor? Aye.
It's a miracle.
That was amazing.
I know,
Everybody in the
scary.
team. I'm giving this back to you, Tony.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
The Personnel Committee is recommending hiring Ellen McDonald as Administrative Assistant for the Human Services Department at a rate of $20.12. Now, you may recall that we approved hiring someone, I believe it was last month.
It was last month,
And
yeah.
that person did not work out. She realized that the job was not for her, and she left after a very brief period of time. Ellen McDonald was the very close second choice of the commission, and Mary Ellen thinks she'll fit in very well. She comes very highly recommended from the North Haven Senior Center, where she couldn't get the hours that she wanted to work. So is there a motion to approve hiring Ellen McDonald as the Human Services Administrative Assistant at the rate of $20.12 an
So
hour?
moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion, Joe?
So have we discussed with Ellen the issues that the person who was successful in other words, have we discussed with her why
the other person
issues-
left?
Yeah, to make sure. I'm inartfully trying to say, have we made sure that this candidate knows what this position is, and so we're not going to have this issue again?
I think that Mary Ellen has done a thorough job of trying to make sure that the number two candidate has a better understanding of what the position is, and that actually the fit is better. Coming from a senior center, knowing types of responsibilities very well about what will be required. I don't think the prior individual was as knowledgeable about those responsibilities, but yes.
Can I add?
Sure.
Yeah.
I think one was coming from her last job, it was corporate, and one's
Right.
coming more from
That's right.
a similar situation, which makes it a little more.
So maybe we learned a hiring lesson.
At least in that position.
Hopefully. Anything else on that? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Item 13, I'll move acknowledgement of receipt of the town clerk's report. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? Not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, minutes. I know we gave you a big job, but we have a lot of minutes to finish before the conclusion of this fiscal year. Okay, I'll move approval of the June 22nd minutes of the special meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion?
I defer to Ben.
If not, all those in...
I have little minor, but they're not worth, it's like a typo or something. So this was an amazing job, Jerry. Amazing.
I don't think it.
If not, all those in favor? Aye.
I read 'em all.
Anyone opposed? I'll move acceptance of the
That's
minutes
right,
of
you
the
voted on 'em.
regular meeting of July 3rd, 2016. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Not, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? I will move approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 18th, 2016.
Second.
Thank you. Questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
I'll move approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of December 6th, 2016. Second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? Not? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Susan, you're an aye. Anyone opposed?
No.
Was that a yes?
Yeah, oh, sorry, yes.
Yeah, okay.
I was busy
Um,
flipping through pages. You gotta be quick here.
Move acceptance of the,
Joe abstained.
oh, you abstained? Sorry, okay. Joe abstained.
Abstained from-
I wasn't there.
Although interestingly,
December 6th, right?
Right.
Yeah, he wasn't here.
I wasn't there.
okay,
Good job.
you were probably in Italy.
I was-
You missed a great meeting.
I was
No.
somewhere better than here. I know that.
Read all about
At the
it.
Christmas market.
I was.
I'll move approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of January 11th, 2017. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And finally, for this evening, I move acceptance of the minutes of the special meeting of February 21, 2017. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions, discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Great job, Jerry.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Thanks, Jerry.
Thank you. And first Selectmen's report, I only have one item that I'd like to report, and that is that John Gorham has agreed to join our Ad hoc Energy Advisory Task Force. He was a very obvious choice to be part of it to begin with, and he was too busy, but now has some freed up time, and so I have asked him to join the task force, and I wanted you all to know that. That's great for the task force. Does anyone have a liaison report that he or she would like to make?
I make a motion to forego the liaison report. Sorry.
Just make the motion to adjourn, it's
And make the
non-debatable.
motion to adjourn at the same time.
Is there a second? Okay, well, thank you, everybody. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yay.
Very
4
nice.
years to make that happen.
That was